Welcome back to the Something in the Wilderness podcast. My name's Steve. The goal of this show is to talk about each and every Andrew McMahon song, one per episode. Admittedly, our content has been heavily influenced by the recent Holiday from Real cruise. I think it was a significant event in a lot of fans' lives. At least that's all I can say for myself. But even if you're not a person who went on the cruise or you're not a cruise person at all, I think we have plenty for you here today. A song-focused episode, and this time we also are going to touch on something pretty significant that happened on the ship, in my opinion. So we're bringing back a returning guest to talk about a song that was probably once significant to her, but I'm going to bet it's even more significant to her today. We'll find out more about that as we go along. Welcome back to the show, Cindy.
Hi, Steve. It's great to be back.
Thank you so much for joining me again. I'm looking forward to talking and catching up and, talking about our experience, but also about this song. So thanks.
Yeah.
So it's been a year and a half, Cindy, since you were on the show, and you talked about Happy by Something Corporate. It was a pretty new song at that time. As a reminder for the listeners, Cindy is a music teacher, and she teaches orchestra, I believe. Is that right, Cindy?
That's right.
Is that right? Okay, so she teaches orchestra, and I know that because I've watched her reels, and she's had sometimes her students perform songs like that, including Andrew's songs. And one time she and her co-teacher, right, even performed Happy on strings and then shared it out as a reel among the fan base. And a lot of people saw that, including Andrew McMahon himself, I think, did see that, right?
He did, and he commented. He said he loved it.
I bet that was quite a moment. Of course, Cindy's also a big fan, besides being a teacher and being a musician. You play violin. Do you play other instruments as well?
I can play viola well, and I can play. So I taught general music for a long time. So depending on what level you're talking about, I can play a lot of instruments. But
Okay.
I can play a pretty mean recorder, but nobody wants to hear recorder.
So I know my kids learned the recorder in elementary school. Do you also teach? You did when you taught general music, probably.
I used to, yeah, when I taught general music, yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, I've enjoyed staying in touch the last year and a half, and I'm glad we got a couple of chances to connect on the cruise recently, a few weeks back. So tell me, Cindy, when the Holiday from Real Cruise 2026 was announced, I know it was announced on the original inaugural Holiday from Real, but as it was announced and as you and your husband thought about it, was it a lock-in for you guys after the first one ended? Did you know you were going back for round two immediately, or was it one of those where you kind of had to consider all angles like work schedules and all that kind of stuff?
We had to consider all angles. We both loved the first cruise so much. And as soon as they announced it and that it was going to be in February, I thought, I wonder how that would work with the teacher's schedule. And my husband is in residency and his schedule is pretty busy. We weren't sure. So what actually ended up happening was there was a Camp Wilderness Zoom with Andrew. And I was just on it at home. And Julian, my husband, comes by and he goes, "Wait, what's going on?" I'm like, "I'm on a Zoom with Andrew." And he was listening to it. And they were talking about the cruise. Like he was saying what bands were going to be there. And Julian's like, "Where are they talking about the cruise?" And I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "Oh, I really like that. We should go again." And I was like, "Really? You think we can?" He goes, "Well, sure." And I was like, "Well, I'd love to." So then it was a matter of he had to make sure he could get the PTO.
Sure.
Because with residency, the schedules are really tight and there's certain times you can't. But they were building the next year's schedule. So he was able to get it. And so then we were on it. And I've already decided we're going on the next one.
Oh, right. Okay.
We're just going to make it happen.
That's kind of where I'm at with the whole thing. I have such amazing experiences out there that, as anybody who's listened to this podcast knows, I just want to keep talking about it. It's going to come up again, I'm sure. That's where I'm at for 2028 as well. However, my kids are really involved in certain things that there's significant dates around that time of year. So they said spring. That's a pretty general time frame. If it's the wrong weekend in spring, it would be very, very difficult for me. So we're just going to hope it's not that one weekend in the spring. But we'll see. But I'm committed as long as the schedules work out.
Honestly, I liked February better than November because it gave us something to look forward to get through the winter.
Exactly.
And things were still kind of cold here, and we just had snow, and it was yucky. And I was like, "Goodbye, I'm ready to get on a ship."
Right. I feel the same way. I like a tropical vacation in late winter because I feel like when I get back from that tropical vacation in late winter, there's not much of it left, if any. And it's like, in this case, it was like, hey, we left in February, but we came back in March, and
Right?
March is spring.
We left in the winter and came back in spring. It was beautiful.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of how I perceived it. My brain perceived it both before and after the fact. So I'm all for February. Let's do February, everybody.
Yes.
Someone write that down
Hmm.
out there that's listening, because March may not work for me anyway.
Yeah.
But catch the listeners up, Cindy. What's been besides the cruise, because we are definitely talking about that. Anything else new in your life? What's going on with you?
Okay, so we are actually about to move across the country.
Oh my gosh.
And actually, what's funny is I feel like it'll come up probably later as we're talking about the song, but you know how Andrew talked about going into the wilderness when he started the Wilderness Project after Jax? I feel like I'm about to do that
Oh,
because first we're going to literally be moving into back to Colorado into a wilderness sort of area from
sure.
Virginia where we are now. My husband's graduating from residency and so he'll be done and we
Oh,
can move
beautiful.
on. And
Yeah.
I'm leaving teaching for at least the
Okay.
next year. Like I'm actually stepping away from teaching because it's been challenging. And I'll just say up front, because I'm probably some of my students or coworkers might listen. And even if they aren't, like the honest truth is the kids are the best. And I
Hmm.
love teaching orchestra, but just the state of public education right now is really challenging. And, my schools are great, like kids are great. And this particular job I'm in is really like two jobs. And so that's also part of it. But this song was actually a catalyst to help me make that decision
Wow.
to go, you know what? I need something different right now. It's time to go into the wild and go into the wilderness. So that's a big thing that's coming up in the next few months is we're going to move this summer. So we're going to move and I do not have a teaching job lined up, but I'm not going to line one up. So
Yeah. And so
yeah.
by going in the wilderness or into the wild, you're kind of just seeing what happens next, right? You're just like
Mm-hmm.
kind of okay. I
Yeah.
like that. Well, that's quite a tie-in to what we're talking about today. Absolutely. We'll get to the song here because I definitely want to talk about that and how that's impacted your decision, or how it's, I don't know, impacted is the right word, but like
Hmm.
you said, it was like part of your life and in the
Yeah.
way that when you made that choice. So you phrased it better than I did. I'll just leave it at that. I like the way you phrased it. So the song we talked about today is, of course, very intentional, and I didn't even know that all of those details about Cindy's life this year before we agreed on the song. But on the ship, I think we both agreed that that's the next one we're talking about, and you'll hear why soon if you don't already know. But to be completely honest, Cindy, and I don't think this is going to come as any shock to you, but when I thought about the long term of this show, and I think about some episodes upcoming years out and stuff like that, I'm like, yeah, my intention is to cover all these episodes eventually, or all these songs eventually, right?
Hmm.
I did have someone else in mind initially for this, and someone else who's played violin on this particular song. And I had thought about reaching out to her at times, and I never did. But when there was a moment on the cruise and I saw this performed on the cruise, there was no other option. I was like, Cindy and I need to talk about this song.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it was immediate, and there was no overthinking or second guessing it after that fact ever since, and it's been a month. So I'm really glad you're here today. You're the one I want to talk about the song. This is, in my opinion, Cindy's song today, at least.
Thank you.
So the song we're talking about today is "Something Wild" by Andrew McMahon in the Wilderness and Lindsey Stirling, or maybe if you're a Lindsey Stirling fan, you would say that name first. It's by Lindsey Stirling and Andrew McMahon in the Wilderness. It was technically on her album called Brave Enough. The single was released on July 15th, 2016, and her full album, Brave Enough, was released on August 19th, 2016. I loved this song from the first time I heard it. I've always considered it a unique one in the catalog for probably all the reasons we're going to talk about here and more. But to me, it's a really special and unique one. Cindy, was this a song that was special to you prior to, say, a year ago?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay.
Because I love Lindsey Stirling. I'm a fan. And
Hmm.
obviously, I'm an Andrew fan. And when this song came through in Spotify or whatever, I was like, "What?
Hmm.
Two of my favorites put a song together." And I love the sound of the song from the get-go because I feel like it's a really good blend of both of their styles.
I agree. It is, admittedly, I'm not going to say I'm not a Lindsey Stirling fan because I think I've liked everything I've ever heard by her, but I haven't dug deep on Lindsey Stirling. I'm just being honest.
Hmm.
But I've liked what I've heard. My family listens to a lot of Christmas music around the holidays, so like I've definitely listened to her Christmas album, but I've also listened to select tracks on Brave Enough and some of her other albums. And a couple of times I've even just hit on Spotify, like just play Lindsey Stirling, and let me listen. But it is a little bit harder for me to connect in general, as my music listening in general goes. It's harder for me to connect to an instrumental,
Hmm.
and she does a lot of that. But what she plays is beautiful, and I've actually considered seeing her in concert just because it's it looks like such a unique thing that she does. Because I've seen video footage of
Hmm.
it. I also considered going on her cruise last year,
Hmm.
which was more like a pipe dream. It was kind of like, hey, I love the Rock Boat and I love Andrew's cruise. Why not a Lindsey Stirling cruise? But
Hmm.
we didn't really make any movement toward that, but I did for a while think about going. And another reason is that Fitz and the Tantrums was on that ship, and I was like, I love that band too. So that would have been cool. And again, Lindsay's a pretty unique performer, so I would one day like to see her. I did check on tickets, so as I was preparing for this episode, I was looking at her name a lot and her performances, and I saw that she's touring this year, and it's
Hmm.
a pretty big tour. But she's playing some arenas, and the nearest one's like 2 hours away. So I'm not gonna make it again, but maybe one day. Have you ever seen her live?
I have. I saw her once in Colorado Springs when we lived near there,
Mm-hmm.
and she was incredible. Even if you're not like a super fan or anything, like her, she puts on a really great show because it's more than just her up there playing. She dances, she's flying everywhere, she's singing.
Yeah.
It's we saw it was a Christmas show and it was so fun and we are planning to go to one of the shows this summer. Because I
Okay.
saw that too when I was researching. I
Yeah.
was like, oh, she's going on tour. I'd love to see her again. And then I've seen the cruise as well. And actually, it's funny. I've got it like in my calendar as something we could look at because it's in January.
It is. They moved the. It was like April last year or May maybe, but yeah, I saw that's in
Right,
January
right.
now.
In January, I'm like, ooh, a tropical cruise in the winter. Like, I mean, we'll see. I mentioned it to my husband. He's open to it, but we have to move and get our life figured out before we do anything like that.
Right. The Rock Boat takes place around the same time of year, which at this moment we're not doing next year. The thought was to take a year off of music cruising and then like plan on hit it again in 2028 for Andrew. That's the ultimate plan. But yeah, things like that come up and I'm just like, ooh, that's tempting too. It's like, oh, that'd be kind of cool. Something different. Not one that it wouldn't feel the same as like an Andrew where I got to be watching every single moment of every single show. It'd be kind of like, I would just like to be in the room for that. Just like see what
Yeah.
that is and experience that myself. So
Yeah,
maybe
that
we'll have to hit a tour sometime.
yeah, it's definitely worthwhile.
Just like kind of like what you said, I have a friend who's an Andrew fan, Caitlin, and she said some of the same things that you said. Like it's incredible the that she puts on, and so I've thought about this for a couple of years now. Like, well, I like everything I've ever heard by her. I don't know that I can name more than 5 songs by her to be
Hmm.
completely honest, but like I like what I've heard. So
Hmm.
listeners may know that this song was also featured in Disney's Pete's Dragon on the soundtrack, which was released. The soundtrack, I should say, was released a week before Lindsay's album on August 12th, 2016. So the song is apparently featured in the end credits, but I've never seen this movie. And sometimes it's funny, and you may have heard on the podcast before. Sometimes I've watched movies just because there's either an Andrew McMahon like song reference or he's on the soundtrack. I've watched entire movies, so I don't know why I haven't gotten to this one yet. Especially having kids, and they would have been the perfect age around that time. Now they're probably like, don't want to watch Pete's Dragon. But have you ever seen that movie?
So in preparation for this podcast, I did watch it.
Oh my gosh! So you did the thing. You did what like I had good intentions to do. All right.
Yeah. Well, I had spring break, and I
Uh
thought,
huh.
and I had a night when I just could not fall asleep and I was just
Uh
awake. And I thought, well, I may as well. So I rented the movie and watched the entire thing in the middle of the night. And I loved it. And I hadn't seen the original
oh.
animated one,
Mm-hmm.
but I cried at the end. It was so sweet. And
Oh.
yes, of course, the song is featured at the end. And actually, Lindsay's violin playing is featured throughout the movie.
Oh, I did not know that.
It's not something wild, but she's like
Like a
playing these
score?
little, yeah, or she's just like little moments where there's just a little violin thing. And in the credits, it said she was the featured violinist. So that was cool.
Oh, that is so cool. That makes me want to see it more, actually.
I loved it.
Because I do pay attention to music in film, not just Andrew's, but if there's a familiar artist to me or an artist I already enjoy that's involved, that makes me want to see it more. I watched the trailer recently. Well, actually, no, let me take that back. I watched the music video, which we'll talk about. Feels like a trailer,
Right.
and it made me want to watch the movie. It was like, ooh, that looks really good. You mentioned the animated. I was going to mention that too. There's an animated version of Pete's Dragon from the 1970s. I actually didn't know it was that old before I looked it up. But when I was a kid, it was, I'll say, it was only a few years old. So
Same.
Yeah,
We're about the same age, so yeah.
yeah, probably. So I did watch it. I do remember seeing bits and pieces, if not the entire thing. It was probably on TV or something.
Mm-hmm.
And so I always thought I saw it. And then for years, I've been thinking I saw that new version. But after watching that music video, I was like, no, I haven't ever seen that. But darn, that looks good. I want to watch it now. So, and you just gave me your 2 thumbs up on it. So,
Oh, and there are like famous actors in the movie. Robert Redford is in it.
I saw him in one of the scenes, and Bryce Dallas Howard, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so she's a pretty famous actress.
And then I should remember this actor's name, but the actor who plays Éomer in Lord of the Rings, but the brother of the Knight of Rohan who got cast away.
If he's the guy I'm thinking of, I'm going to throw another reference that you may or may not know, but Billy the Butcher on The Boys, which is an Amazon Prime TV show. So if anybody watches that, I think that's his name, The Butcher. But anyway, I think that's the same guy. But I saw him in it too. And I was like, oh, it'd be so weird after watching that show for years to see him in like a PG role, because that show is not PG. So, violent and stuff. So it'd be weird to, see him in that role. But makes me even more curious now, because I don't remember him in anything else. I don't remember him being in Lord of the Rings, but I haven't seen those movies in like 20 years. So
yeah.
Well, let's talk some production notes of the song here. So the track was produced by Josh Abraham, Nico Stati, and Rumors. I'd never heard of any of those 3 people before I looked this up, but I did find out that Josh Abraham has worked with a lot of artists that we all know. Michelle Branch, Pink, Carly Rae Jepsen, Weezer, Linkin Park, Alkaline Trio, and even Slayer, just to name a few. So he's kind of all over the place. Like I guess he just loves music and loves producing and likes to dabble in all the genres, because I think that covers just about all of them right there. Mm-hmm. Knowing that one of these producers, Cindy, worked across all these different genres, in this song, do you hear like a genre blending influence in the song itself?
Absolutely. I feel like, okay, and we'll get to this later, but when I talked to Andrew about playing this song, one thing he said is it has a Celtic feel to it.
Yeah, I would have said the same, yeah.
Definitely, with the little turns and the violin part and even the singing the woes. It has a Celtic feel, and then it has the definite like piano, rock, whatever Andrew's current genre is. I don't even know how to describe his genre other than like Andrew, but it has that, and then it has Lindsey's like her style of playing, which I'm not sure how to describe it because it's her own thing, like this electric violin, like pop violin. Like it's pop Celtic, sort of. It is, I guess I'm saying it is definitely a blended sound. And I love blended, like fusion music. I love it so much. And I love it when classical music gets thrown into pop or vice versa. And some people, like when I went to music school, I went to, classical music school. And there are some people who are purists who say, oh, I don't know if you've heard of an artist, a violinist called Vanessa May. But she came before Lindsey Stirling and kind of does the same thing. Mm-hmm. And so she would take like Bach music, like classical music, and put a beat to it and make it sound like a rock song. And I loved it. And Vanessa May, check her out. She's great. And she'd play an electric violin and all that. And some of my friends, some of my friends and my professors were very like,
not open to that.
No, they would kind of turn their nose at it and be like, oh, that. And I'm like, no, it makes it accessible and it's fun. But
to people like me, really. That's what I was.
Exactly.
So yeah. So I probably wouldn't put on anything classical myself. I wouldn't mind it if someone else put it on and it was there and I couldn't find things to enjoy about it. But that is, accessible is the word. It makes it accessible to someone like me who wouldn't put that on. But I would put on a Lindsey Stirling song and probably a Vanessa May song, especially if it had something interesting to my ears, something that brought me in, and then I could appreciate the classical side of it too.
Exactly.
Yeah, I hear exactly what you're saying. I enjoy, again, what I've heard from Lindsey Stirling. So what you said about Vanessa Mae, I think that would interest me as well. I've been trying to open my ears or keep my mind open to different kinds of music, especially in recent years. And it's not that I'm necessarily like, I have plenty of artists I enjoy and I love and plenty to listen to. But I've also challenged myself to open my ears to different things as well, because I feel like in my younger years and maybe even into adulthood, I've kind of said, this is what I like and this is what I don't like. And I decided to stop that because, it doesn't need to be defined.
Nice.
Music is music, and there's probably something good in all of it, and I just have to look for that. And that's kind of what I challenge myself with these past few years. So I'm not great at it. Now there's still some things I hear and I'm like, nope, not for me, which is fine too. So.
Mm-hmm.
So this album, Brave Enough, was recorded in Los Angeles and released on Lindsey's own label, Lindsey Stomp Records. A little bit further information about the album itself is that Lindsey had several musicians. So this is where she is different than maybe a classical musician. You talked about a beat, but she also brought in features from other artists, not just Andrews. So like Rivers Cuomo of Weezer. That name's going to pull me in every time. Christina Perri. If nobody knows that name, it's 1,000 Years Twilight fame, Christina Perri. And then Dan and Shay, who I know are country singers because I've seen them before live at a country concert I was at. So it's really the only reason I know their name, and my wife listens to them. So you must be familiar with Lindsey Stirling's other work then. So it sounds like you've been a fan, like you've listened to her other albums as well.
Yeah, I own at least two
Mm-hmm.
CDs of hers, and actually, she's put together music books where you can, as a violinist, I can play her arrangements.
Oh, cool.
So I own maybe four of those. And if you want to check out my YouTube channel, during COVID, my COVID project I found
Mm-hmm.
myself was recording those. So it was really fun. So because I like she has covers of pop songs, she has original songs, she had a lot of cool Christmas arrangements. So like one of them is the Game of Thrones theme song.
Mm-hmm.
So she has a really cool arrangement that's written for two violins, and then it has a track that goes with it that sounds like the real thing. So I've got this app called Acapella where you can record yourself with multiple videos and play with the sound and all of that. And I got a 1 year subscription. And so, like for that one, for example, because it's two violin parts, I recorded the one violin part, recorded the other, made a separate track. Once I got smart, I realized you needed a third track with that was just the track, so you could adjust the balance. So I did a bunch of those and a bunch of her arrangements of songs just for something to do. It was really fun.
You just reminded me of one of your reels I saw recently of you doing Miss Delaney. And I know we were just talking a lot about Lindsey Stirling, but I'm going to shift gears for a moment here.
Hmm.
When you did that Miss Delaney, you did multiple tracks live. So you recorded a part and then it looked like you stepped on a pedal. Is that what you're
That's
doing?
right.
Okay. And then you record another and then you somehow that loops. So it's a looper pedal, right?
So it's a looper pedal and an effects pedal. And I realized after I made that video that you couldn't hear really well the actual sound effect the violin was supposed to sound like because my phone was like right here and the violin was here. And that electric violin plays loud enough that you could hear it here. But really, I need to play with that because the sound coming out of the speaker was kind of different. And I guess you could hear it once it started looping. But so that whole setup is my school's. That's the violin I brought to perform on the cruise with. And
Mm-hmm.
we just got this looper pedal. And so I have all of that at my house so I can learn how to use it, so I can teach the kids how to use it. So that was just me just playing, going, okay, well, Miss Delaney, that's a good one. Why not?
Yeah. Oh, I
Let's
I
play with
loved
it.
it.
Thank you.
That's very interesting to me.
Now I have to figure out how to save the loop so I can do the rest of the song. Because I got to a point where I was like, oh, there's a different chord that's not in this loop. I need to figure out how to do that.
And it's a learning process. That's exciting to me that kids are learning not only the classical music on the classical instruments, but they're learning the technology that they can use to record themselves and loop and do these interesting effects to do what someone like Lindsey Stirling does, like taking something classical, something classic, let's say, and making it unique. That's pretty cool. I think kids should be learning that. It's exciting.
Thank you. Yeah, it's crazy though, because school's almost out, and so I'm like, well, we just got this looper pedal. Let's
Sure.
figure it out, and then when the concert's over, I'll bring it in and be like, all right, here's what you do. Play with this thing. Try it
Hmm.
out.
I think it's cool that the school even purchased one. I mean, that says a lot, actually. So, and you may have had
hmm
something to do with that. I don't know, but
Oh, I
like it,
completely did. I just ordered
yeah.
it. But
Okay.
they're great about like approving our purchases that we
Cool.
actually have a very good budget, and we can pretty much say, hey, we need this, and
Yeah.
it's for the electric violin, and I don't know if I've ever been questioned, which is really nice. I mean, and we're not buying silly stuff. We're buying,
Right.
they've never been like, what's that for? I'm like, well, we have an electric violin. It's been
Right.
great.
Things that are relevant to their learning
Yeah.
music, so that music performance and things. So that's great.
Yeah. Well, and actually a little side note, this all
Hmm.
connects, but when I first started this job, it was 3 years ago, we were going through all the instruments at the high school, just doing inventory and checking if they needed strings and things like that. And I open up the case and I find this electric violin. And I'm like, what? Okay. No amp, nothing to plug it into. Like just it was just this electric violin. I'm like, interesting. Why
Hmm.
did they buy this?
Yeah.
Why is this here? And so last year we bought the amp and just a cord. That's all we needed was an amp and a plug, and then now you can use it.
Yeah.
And then we just got the looper pedal. So I'm like, okay, now this thing that the school bought however long ago can actually be used.
So somebody purchased the electric violin initially, but you
hmm
added the equipment that was needed to actually maybe make it able to be performed with
Yeah.
and things like that. Good for you, good for your students, and that's something you can leave behind with them for the next person to, hopefully they'll play around with it and get the kids
Yeah.
interested, or hopefully your kids will be interested enough next year to be like, hey, we want to do that again.
I hope so. That's the plan.
Yeah, very good. Let's talk about this collaboration here. So I don't know too much details other than the production notes that I listed, but about how this track came together. I know a little bit about the songwriting and how they came together to record it because Andrew's told the story. Well, I'll come back to that. But since this was a collaboration between Lindsey and Andrew, what do you think each one of them brings emotionally to the track that maybe the other couldn't on their own? Because they're two separately, I would argue they're two very different artists.
hmm
And if I had never heard Something Wild, if that didn't exist out there, it would have been hard for me to imagine what that would sound like. So what do they bring each separately to this track, do you think?
Okay, I love this question so much because, all right, with Lindsay, I read a little bit about her album, and I listened to the album Brave Enough, and it's wonderful
Hmm.
how she talks about being brave in her life. And actually, so I also, just of my own accord, listened to her autobiography as an audiobook.
I just downloaded that this week. I haven't had a chance to open it yet,
Oh,
but
wonderful. It's
yeah,
so good. And
I
she
got the
reads
ebook,
it.
but yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
okay. I got the ebook, but maybe I should
okay.
get the audio.
Oh, either way, I mean, I drive so much that audiobooks are the way to go for me, but
Right.
I can't remember the exact details. But she talks about times when she's needed to be brave and to step out and do the thing and just be brave. And I think also as a woman, we sometimes have to be extra brave to do things that maybe for a man they don't have to be brave to do,
Hmm.
to assert yourself. Actually, she talks about that with being in the music industry and certain things with that it's a little might be a little harder for her as a female. I think she
Hmm.
was working at one time where she was the only female on her entire crew, and
Wow.
that dynamic of I'm the only lady. Okay, I wish I remembered more details, but having to be brave and to speak up for yourself and do that, I think she brings that. And then Andrew, I think the wild, like something wild that his moniker in the wilderness
Hmm.
kind of says it right there, but that I mean, he's been through his own stuff and he's had to be brave for sure, going through cancer and many other things. His music to me is so full of hope, and I feel like he really brings the hope in the lyrics. Like that's what I feel in this song. The song is so full of hope, and I feel like that's really the big thing he brings in the way he sings it. And I'm assuming he did most of the writing of the words, in the
I I
lyrics.
was assuming that too, but I can't be
Okay.
positive, but that's what I'm assuming.
Okay, and they sound like Andrew lyrics.
They
It
do
it
sound like
really,
Andrew lyrics, yeah.
yeah. And the way he sings it too is just, to me, it's like he's like saying, "I got you. Just reach for my hand," as he says in the song. It's like he provides the hope side of things and the light at the end of the tunnel. And she maybe has to be Like, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this. I can be brave. Yeah, that's how it comes across to me.
I'm really glad I asked that question because that was an excellent answer.
Oh,
Wow, like you just gave me a lot. Like I don't even
oh,
know where to begin. Yeah, I guess I'll start with the Andrew side because I do agree. I think he brings this like hopeful thing in the lyrics and in the piano. It's like it feels positive. It feels like we're
hmm
moving towards something, moving into something that's good. Yeah, Lindsay's violin is just so interesting to me because I think it has that too. It definitely has that hopeful sound. But I like what you said. And I know that the name of our album is Brave Enough, but I definitely, and I like what you brought from the book there. And it makes me even more interested to read it now because I do hear that in the violin as she's playing. And it works so well together. I love what she brings to the table with Andrew, and I love what Andrew brings to the table with Lindsey. I know officially, so if you look at where this song sits in a catalog or an album, it's Lindsey's song featuring Andrew. I
hmm
do feel it as a joint. I don't know if Lindsey Stirling, more pure Lindsey Stirling fans see it the same, but it feels like a true collaboration between them. Because you're right, there's so much about it that has Andrew's stamp on it, his creative stamp, but it's still so different than anything else he's ever done. And
hmm
that's what Lindsey adds to it. Like Andrew could not have made this song on his own.
Yeah.
There's no way. Probably even the violin aside.
I also think that you have to have some bravery to play that solo in the song.
I would agree, and I want to hear more about that because
It
wow,
exudes bravery for sure, and you have to
yeah,
be brave to be like, I'm doing this, which I'm
you
sure we'll get
do.
into.
I would agree with that. Wow, like well, let's talk about the song live. So
hmm
I'm gonna give a few examples of where it's been played live previously, but then where this is all going to culminate in where it was played most recently live and by whom. So this song apparently was I didn't know this, but it was I guess it makes sense. It was one of Lindsey's singles from 2016, but so it should be expected that it was a kind of a setlist staple for her during the Brave Enough tour in 2016 and 17. The first time she ever played it live was July 11th, 2016, before it was even released on the album. And then Andrew and Lindsey performed it together on August 23rd, 2016 on the Today Show. Did you have a chance to watch that by chance?
Oh, for sure. I watched it many times and I loved that. I do, it's funny though, because I just, the comments of that say, this is like, this guy Andrew really did well. Like, a lot of comments were like, yeah, Lindsay's great, but this guy, like, Andrew really killed it. I'm like, yeah, he
Hmm.
did great. They,
Yeah,
I
that
love
guy.
that. But
Yeah,
it really,
that's a good pianist they brought in.
yeah, who's that guy they brought in who's singing and playing?
Yeah. I saw Mikey back there. I didn't recognize him at first. I had to look really closely and I had to really pay attention because I was looking for his other band members to see if any of them because I know she has her own band, by the way. Of course,
Right.
she's a touring artist and has a band. But I was seeing if I recognized anybody, any of the musicians. And Mikey was on stage, but that was it from the Andrew camp. And
hmm
I do believe the other two guys from the comments I read and an article I read, I think the other two guys were part of her touring band at least at the time. I can't be sure
Okay.
about that, but I thought it sounded great. That performance on the Today Show sounded like a studio recording to me, which just amazed me. I'm like, wow. I know it's a studio, right?
hmm
It's actually a studio they play in, and they're plugged in and everything. But the sound was incredible,
Yeah.
and they blew me away. I did think it was funny, harkening back to something that you've mentioned about the comments. Going into that performance, the host was like, "You have Andrew McMahon helping you out today," and that makes sense because it was a Lindsey Stirling feature. They were promoting her album, so
hmm
that does make sense. But for an Andrew fan, it's kind of like, but that's Andrew. Like he's the star of the show. Like from our side of things,
And
usually.
he was singing the entire song. Like,
Right.
really, he's singing more than she's playing. But anyway.
Yeah. But yeah, he was singing obviously because he sings the song. We believe he wrote the lyrics, if we can assume. Again, I enjoyed even watching the other band members like play. It was very professionally done. Andrew, on the other hand, so we talked about a little bit about Lindsey's history with this. Andrew has performed the song, according to Setlist FM, 50 times in concert as of today's date. The most recent being on the Holiday from Real Cruise in 2026. And surprising to me, the first time he played it live, though, without Lindsey Stirling, that is, was in 2018 on November 9th and then again on 11/11, November 11th. So that would have been the benefit show in Boston that year. I guess I am surprised because it was the first time it was clear to me that he was playing it regularly was in 2020. Like, that's what I thought. I thought he just started playing it live in 2020 when Morgan Paris joined his band.
Hmm.
And because, that made sense. He had a violinist in the band. He would start playing that song. So I am kind of curious to see or hear how that went in 2018. Maybe someone with a violin joined him on stage. I'm actually not sure about that. Do you remember did you hear about the drive-in shows of 2020? Were you familiar with those when they were happening?
I've heard of them, so I didn't become an Andrew fan until about, when was it, 2021.
That's right.
So I heard about them. That's all.
So Andrew was the kind of the one of the first artists that I'm aware of, and I was really paying attention to all of that in the entire industry. I was kind of watching for that, what was happening pandemic times, right? So we didn't know when live music would come back and how it would come back. And he was one of the people who, in my opinion, took the reins and was like, we're going to do drive-in shows, and people are going to come park their cars and listen.
So cool.
But additionally, he needed a violinist. I think Zach Clark was doing his own thing, promoting his own work at the time, focusing on his own music, I should say. And so Morgan joined the band. She played violin, piano, acoustic guitar. So that was the major difference when they could start playing it. So they played it a lot at that time. And if you became an Andrew fan in 2021, and I should remember this because I know we've talked about it before, but did you see him live in 2021 then?
I didn't see him live until 2023.
Okay. Yeah, so she wouldn't have been in the band anymore, right?
No, no, I've never seen Morgan play with him yet.
Besides the drive-in shows, I saw them on the Rock Boat that year, and she was on stage for all those performances. And then they did the Three Pianos tour in 2021 as well, the fall of 2021, and she was on all of those shows. And I don't know if they played Something Wild every single time, but they played it a lot because it was a great choice, obviously, for
Hmm.
who they had in the band. I lost count of how many times I've seen that song performed live, but I'm not mad at it. I'll never complain about that one. I love seeing it live. I think it adds something, a whole different thing to an Andrew McMahon show. There are 3 violinists that I know of, and someone could correct me on this, but there's 3 violinists that I know that have performed this song on stage with Andrew. There's Lindsey Stirling, there's Morgan Paris, and now there's you, Cindy. So that's what I want to talk about next. I may be missing somebody in there, but that's okay. I'm going to say there's 3. And you performed this song live with Andrew. We want to hear all about it. We saw you and your husband when we were about to get on the ship, and you had your violin with you, and you're like, I brought my violin. I'm playing with Andrew, and I was like, what? Like, it was like unbelievable. Like, what is going on? So I do wanna step back in time because I don't even think you knew which night you were playing when you got on
Nope,
the ship, right?
I sure did not.
You just knew that bring your violin and you will be on stage playing this song at some point, right?
That's right. That's all I knew.
Take us back. So where did this whole thing, this whole idea start? Go
Sure.
back to the beginning.
Okay. So it actually starts with, I arranged his song Swim for my high school orchestra back last summer. Like,
Okay.
I just had this idea. It just came to me. Sometimes ideas just do that. And I thought this might sound good on just strings. And this was before the strings attached came out.
Mm-hmm.
It just, I don't know, just popped into my head. And so I played around with it, put it together. And over the summer, I actually met online with a professional strings arranger who does like
Wow.
arrangements for students. It is cool. I met him at a workshop and he had offered to do Zoom meetings anytime. And so I thought, well, let me get his help. And he gave me great pointers to make it good for the
Mm-hmm.
students. Like, so that if you listen closely, that's on my YouTube too. But the rhythm of what Andrew sings is not exactly the same as what my students play because of just syncopation and to smooth out the rhythm. And I changed the key so it's actually one step higher than what Andrew sings to sound better in tune and whatever. So I did some things like that based on what this professional arranger suggested over the summer. So then he did say, listen, if you're going to be using someone's song technically for copyright reasons, you need permission from the
Mm-hmm.
artist and you might need to pay $100 or something for permission. I was like, that's fine. I'm happy to do that. And he says, okay. I had purchased the piano sheet music And so on there it shows that. So I was able to find the copyright. I said, but I'm gonna see the actual artist because I was gonna go do VIP at a Jack's Mannequin show. So I said,
Hmm.
well, I could just ask him in person. And he goes, well, yeah, that works too. So I went to the Charlotte show, the Jack's Mannequin Charlotte show with Christy and Steven, and we
Christy and
got
Steven, who
VIP.
have both been
Yep,
on the show.
that's right. They're my
Yeah.
concert buddies that we met in Charlotte before. So when I did my VIP, when I got to meet Andrew, I had the sheet music, not the stuff I had done, but just the like the score I'd bought, and I had him sign it. And I asked him, I said, "Hey, I'm thinking about doing this. Is it okay if I can I do this? And who can I pay? What do I need to do?" And he goes, "Oh, go ahead. And if anybody comes after you for arranging one of my songs for a high school orchestra, I will punch them." That is what he said. I said, "Okay, thank you." And
All
he said,
right.
and then he said, and I wish I had asked a follow-up question. I mean, we all know what happened, but then he goes, "Oh, I've been recording some stuff with this with a really talented violinist." He gave a little hint about the
Yeah.
the strings, but I just kind of it went in and I heard it, and then I thought maybe that's for the Red Rock show. Or no, he didn't even say record. He just said he's been working with a violinist to do some stuff with strings. That's what he said.
Mm.
And I was like, oh, and I wish I'd followed up, but I was so focused on my thing, and you know how that goes, where
Of
you're,
course. Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
was nervous and
Right. Oh,
excited,
I've been
and
there. I know
you
exactly what you
know,
mean. Yeah. You're talking to Andrew McMahon, and you're like, yeah.
and that so he deliberately dropped that hint, which I thought was cool. So
Hmm.
I had permission, and I also did find out where to pay. It was like $100, no big deal. So then anyway, fast forward, worked on it with my students, and I showed them his official music video of the song and told them the story of his cancer journey and the Dear Jack Foundation. And I showed a few videos of like from the Jack's Mannequin tour of him playing it live and the Red Rock show. Like I did a bunch of things, and I said, and he's my favorite singer, and I've got his autograph, and I've met him a couple times, and we're gonna play his song. And he also said, hey, make sure to share it with me, like tag me
Okay.
on Instagram. And I was like,
Of course.
sweet, so he can see it.
Yeah.
So fast forward to our concert. We did it for our first concert on October 30th.
Hmm.
Kids threw great. I took a video of the kids playing it just in the classroom, just in case something weird happened at the concert, do it in a relaxed setting. Anyway, so then the day of the concert at school, I had a question for I work at two schools. So I was at the high school, but the concerts are held at the middle school where I teach. And so I go to the secretary and I had a question about the auditorium. And she goes, you don't have it booked today. And I was like, yes, I do. Our concert's today. And she goes, no, it's not booked and it's not available.
Oh.
And I said, what? Someone else had booked it. I had dropped the ball and not booked the
Oh.
auditorium. And they go, well, do you have to have it today? I'm like, yeah. Can't you have it somewhere else? No, that is the auditorium that we use.
Right.
And I had been also having a hard time with some other stuff. So I was already kind of on edge because my job is it's great, but it's very stressful and busy, and I anyway. So
I
I
bet.
like lost it. I like started ugly crying and saying, I can't do this anymore. I'm going to quit. I don't know what to do. And I just like started crying and lost
Mm.
it. And the principal was there, and and they were very sweet, and they calmed me down. And the principal took me in his office and was like, "You're doing a good job. It's okay. We'll find a solution." Something snapped in me,
Mm.
and it had been kind of building for 3 years. Actually, 22 years. I've been teaching 22 years. It's been building, but anyway, I snapped. I got it together, figured out we were able to use the auditorium. Someone was able to rebook their thing. So
Oh,
anyway, so
good.
then when we went into that concert that night, I read a little description before about Andrew and about a parent who was going through a cancer journey that I dedicated the song to. And she
Oh,
had just had
wow.
surgery and was cancer free. So it was really cool to share that in the concert right before he played Swim. And so anyway, but anyway, I was raw like that day. I was raw. And so when I was reading some of the song lyrics, I was like encouraging, and I was like, I need this right now.
Sure.
Anyway, this does lead to something wild. But anyway, so we play the song,
Hmm.
the kids do beautifully, and it went really well. And then that was October 30th. I had tickets to see the Jack show November 2nd. So a couple days later.
Was that so? That was right around the time that I saw him in Columbus. What? So where were you? Was that
That
Atlanta?
was Atlanta.
Okay. That
Yeah.
makes sense. Yeah, because I talked to Christy about that show.
hmm
Christy went to that show, right? Yeah.
That's
Okay.
right. And I met up with her.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, good.
and she was able to score VIP because in the middle of all that, Andrew decided to go off of the smartphone and off of social media. And I was like, how am I going to show him this? I just got it done.
Uh,
So Christy scored VIP. So I said, cool. So I was like, oh, I can at least show him like part of it and find a way to send it to him. So I'm not showing the whole thing in VIP. So anyway, so I was kind of raw. And at that point, really thinking like, I don't know if I'm going to make it this school year. So I'm feeling all those things, and I drive down to Atlanta, and I ended up being the first person in line because it was daylight savings and I had nothing else to do. So I was like, sure, I'll be first in line and wait for Christy.
hmm
So I get there and I'm just hanging out, and Christy comes with their daughter, and we're just hanging out, and we're just sitting there chit-chatting. And Andrew and J Mac start walking by with coffee in their hands. And this is like it's like 12:30.
Oh, wow. You lined up early.
I did, and VIP meet and greet doesn't start until what, 3, 4, whatever it was. I
Okay.
just decided to get there stupid early because I had nothing else going on. And anyway, so Andrew comes by, and we're like, "What?" He comes and talks to us for like half an hour. He and J Max stay there, and it was amazing. We were just like chit-chatting, and in the middle of that, I said, "Hey, I arranged your song 'Swim' for my kids." He goes, "Oh, I remember that." I said, "Can I show you?" He goes, "Sure." So I give him my phone, and he watches the video, and I was like, Christy, take a video. So she videos him watching the video, and I think I
hmm
posted that somewhere on Facebook or whatever. But
Okay.
so he watched it, the whole thing, and was so kind, and his reactions were great. I had a cello solo at the beginning, and he was like, wow, he's really good. I said, oh, thank you. And I said, that's Noah, he's really good. And he goes, how'd you get them to play in tune? And I said, well, it's a thing we work on all the time. But
Yeah.
he gave little comments like as he watched it, and very
Okay.
kind. And then he's like, "Oh, are those 16th notes in there?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he goes, "Yeah, I heard that." And then he hears like I threw in Bobby's guitar line, and he goes, "Oh, there's the guitar line."
Oh my gosh. That's so cool. He was really paying attention.
He didn't just go, "Oh, yeah, that's nice." He like paid attention and listened to details. And then when he was done, he tells Christy, "Hey, stop recording." And he tells us a story that he kind of alluded to on the cruise. He had said how he'd been to some high school orchestra show with his daughter or something like that. And he said they started to tune, but they didn't finish. And so the orchestra was like out of tune the whole time. And he says it hurt
Oh.
his heart.
Mm.
And he says, but your kids were in tune. And I was like, well, I fuss at them a lot. This is our advanced group. And, we were just chit chatting about it. He was so nice. You know how he is. But it was so special to like watch him watch it.
Yeah.
So all that happened. So anyway, he did that, and then I had my score. He signed it, and he like looked at it of the music that my students played, so he could see it. And anyway, so then in this whole thing, I'm raw, and I'm also in a point of like, I kind of don't care. Like, there's just times where I'm like, I just kind of don't care about whatever. I'm gonna show up early. While we're chatting, I feel like something possessed me, because this is not me to do something. Well, it kind of is, but not like this. I said, hey, could I play with your band sometime? I play violin. I'm going to be on the cruise. And as soon as that came out of my
Whoa.
mouth, I was like, what is wrong with you? Like, my mind just goes, what are you doing? He doesn't know anything about you. I mean, yeah, he saw me play the Happy video, but like, really, he doesn't know how I play. What am I doing? But it just came out of my mouth.
hmm
He immediately responds with, can you shred the solo on something wild? And I say, actually, yes, I can. I have messed with it. And he goes, that'd be kind of a neat thing to have a fan play on the cruise. Here, give me
Yeah,
your
it would.
information. So he goes, write down your information. I'll give it to my manager and we'll be in touch. And I was like, really? And he goes, yeah. I said, okay. And then, but I'm like, does anyone have a pen or a piece of paper? I had some napkins, and nobody did. And I said, hold on, I'm not passing up the opportunity to hand Andrew my contact information. So
Right.
Andrew's like, I've got a Sharpie in the van. I'll go get it in a little bit and I'll bring it back.
Wow.
Because I also wanted to sign some stuff. So anyway, so he leaves, and he actually comes back with a Sharpie. And so I write my info on a napkin, and it's like, Cindy, play something wild on cruise, question mark, and all my, my email, whatever. And I was just like, what? And while we were talking about it, he goes, yeah, that song has kind of a Celtic feel to it. I said, yeah. And I said, I love that song. It's really great. And I'm just like, what is happening? What is happening? Is he just being nice to me? Is he just kind of like placating me because I put myself out there and he didn't want me to be embarrassed? Like all these things. So anyway, we chit chat. Oh, and I think I said, do you need me to send a video of me playing it so you know I can play it okay? And he's like, nah, it just being a fan on the stage would be good enough. That would be great. And I was like, okay, should I play an electric violin or a regular violin? He's like, oh, definitely electric because of the sound bleed. And I was like, okay, I have this like school violin, but I don't really know. He's like, yeah, you'll definitely want to do that. I said, okay, I'll figure it out.
So the whole thing was arranged in that meeting, it sounds
Yeah.
like. I mean,
Yeah.
basically.
Because was possessed by something to ask him to play in his band, which like I don't recommend doing that, but well, maybe I do. I don't know. But the whole time between November and then the cruise, the whole time I thought this may not happen because there's
Sure.
so many things between here and there. And he might have been nice, being nicer. I prepared myself to be like, this might happen, it might not, and I'm going to be happy either way because we're going on this cruise. So then we do the act. So then he goes and we do the actual meet and greet. And this is just a funny story. Really doesn't have anything to do with it. I gave him a sticker from my high school and I took a picture of us holding the score so I could show my students. And I took the VIP poster and put that picture of us on there with the signed score. And it's in my classroom for the
Mm-hmm.
kids because he said he dedicated it to the school. Anyway,
Yeah.
in the middle of that meet and greet, I had on one of these cool bracelets that Christy made.
Mm-hmm.
It got stuck in my jacket zipper, like right here.
Oh
Just,
no.
and I'm stuck and I'm about to, it's like we're about to take this picture, but I can't with my arm chicken wing like this. And Andrew's like, here, let me help you. I like fixing things like this. So he's like untangling my bracelet. And I was like slightly embarrassed and slightly charmed, just like, oh, you're so nice. Thank you.
Yeah. So genuinely nice. Like, I just want to help you.
Yeah, he's like, oh no, I'll help you. And he got it unstuck, took a picture, and off we went. All right, so that's November.
Mm-hmm.
And I come home and I tell my husband, and he's like, really? Wow, that's amazing. I was like, yeah, I don't know if it's gonna happen. We'll see. So sure enough, I get an email from Ryan, his manager, like 3 days later.
Okay.
And he didn't say anything about something well. He just said, are you going to be at any more Andrew shows? Hope you're doing great. And it's titled Strings for Andrew McMahon. So just like an introductory email. And I was like, he actually
Mm-hmm.
wrote me. What?
Yeah.
So followed up. And then at some point it did come through over the months like, yeah, we'd love to have you play something wild. He said, reach out to me in February and we'll figure out the details. So I practiced the song. I actually bought the music because I'd messed around with it just by ear.
Mm-hmm.
So I bought the actual music and I bought the solo and then I bought a cello violin arrangement so I could play it with my coworker to just practice. And I practiced it and that's when I found the Today Show version and
Mm-hmm.
did a little bit of my own research and then practiced the song because it's not easy. I mean, it's not like super
No.
hard, but there's some intricate stuff in there, and I got to memorize it. So I, worked on it over months, and the whole time was always this little thing going, "This might not happen." All right, so we get to February. I don't remember if it was February or before then that Polyglam was announced that they were joining the cruise. I don't know if you remember.
I think it was February.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when that happened, I immediately thought, oh, they're gonna have Allie play, not
Mm-hmm.
me. Like he's worked with Allie,
I can see why you'd think that. Yeah.
Like I was like, oh, and I remember texting Christy, uh-oh, or maybe she texted me, uh-oh. And I tell you what, Polygram was awesome. Polyglam was awesome. I love them, and Allie is amazing. And I wish I'd gotten to meet her on the cruise, but
Mm-hmm.
I was just like, oh, why would he have me play when he's got this violins he's worked with? Like, it's not happening.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just going to let it go, but I thought, no, let me just send a follow-up email to Ryan and then he can say what he's going to say. So I did, and he goes, oh, yeah, yeah, bring your electric violin and we will coordinate with you on the actual ship when things are happening. And I was like, oh, shoot, this is really happening.
Wow.
Okay. So I decided to bring obviously the electric violin, but I also brought my regular, I guess, acoustic violin is what you call
Mm-hmm.
it, because it has my bow, like my good bow, my own strings, my shoulder rest, all my crap that I just had wanted to have. And then there's my regular violin if an opportunity came up to play.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then I remember we ran into you in the cruise
The terminal.
terminal. And I was like, I got to start telling people because this is really happening.
Yeah. I was so excited for you.
Thank you.
And I was going to say, and I remember seeing you on, I think, day 2 during Michigander, right? Because
Yeah.
we were kind of standing near the same area, and I saw you, and you were like, hey, and you were like, it's going to be wilderness night. It's going to be, wilderness night. And I was like, oh, and Marcy was standing there with me. And so we were like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is because we were thinking the same kind of similar thoughts. Like, is this happening? Is this really happening? This is unreal. I can also, on a side note, I can relate to that experience and that doubt that you had about whether it was actually going to happen, because I felt the exact same way when Andrew's manager had reached out to me about talking to Andrew on this very podcast
Oh, yeah.
over 3 years ago. A lot of the same thoughts you described. I'm like, oh, really? Is this really are you sure? Are they just being nice? Like, okay, like that's nice of them, but like, is this really going to happen? And I didn't tell anybody except my wife until the interview was over, because I didn't want to. I don't know. This is weird like thing where I felt like if I told somebody, maybe it wouldn't happen, and then it would look silly.
Oh, 100. I felt the same way. I'm like, because I thought if I go around blasting this, then it's just not going to happen. That completely makes sense.
Yeah. So you don't want to be disappointed, and you don't want to build it up for yourself either.
Yeah.
And so you're like, I don't know. And that was actually really cool the way it played out from the beginning, that you had a friend like Christy to share it with from the beginning. And, even if you weren't sharing, whether you shared it with anybody else or not up until the cruise, at least you guys had that moment to be like, and that's something you could, again, chat about. So like when Polyglam was announced and you were like, is this happening? I don't know. Is this happening? That's cool that you had that. Whereas that's fun. And then when you got on the cruise and you started telling people, I was so excited for you. I was so excited. I'm sorry, Cindy. I was telling people.
That's awesome.
I was like, Cindy, who's been on my podcast, she's going to play. Like, I think 2 or 3 people, but I was like, she's going to play on stage with Andrew. Like, and then when you confirmed it, I think that's when I actually told people, is
Nice.
the second time when you confirmed it. I think I saw you the second morning too. I think I saw you like 3 times before the show. And then I was like, I was so excited for you. My wife and I were so excited. We were just over the moon for you and just couldn't, but it still felt unreal. Like to imagine that you, a fan, a musician, but a fan that's a musician, gets to go up on stage and play with one of your, if not your favorite artists, just felt unreal. And I knew even before you got up there, and we'll get there, but even before you got up there, I'm thinking this is going to be like one of the coolest moments, because I love to see, I don't know how to describe it. It fills my heart like to see when people get to do like cool stuff. Like I try to take the word jealousy and envy out of my vocabulary completely. I'm not perfect, but I love to see people succeed. I love to see people live out their dreams. Like, I would even say the same thing for Andrew. Like, I don't know him as well. We've talked a couple times, but like when the good things happen to him, I feel similarly. I'm just like, there's something cool happening to someone I care about. This is amazing. And so leading up to it, I'm just thinking about all that. I'm like, is this going to happen? Is like Cindy going to get to go on stage with Andrew? And so what happened that day? So like Wilderness Set's coming up. Like what happens next?
I forget which day the Prom Queens played, but I went to that set, which was so fun. And I saw Ryan, the manager, over the barricade after the show. And I thought, I'm going to put the face, I'm going to meet him in person and find out what night I'm playing because I don't know. I was guessing with friends. We were like, well, it's probably the last night.
Yeah.
Can be the last night. So I walk up there and I'm like, hi, Ryan, I'm Cindy. And he's like, oh, I recognize you. I remember from your videos. I was like, oh, thanks. And I said, hey, thank you for, arranging this. And which night am I playing? And Clutch was there. Clutch and William Tell were all there, and I got a picture with Will, but Clutch was there while I was talking to Ryan, and Clutch is like, are you playing Me in the Moon? And I was like, no, I'm doing something wild. And he's like, oh, cool. And Ryan's like, probably the fourth night, but here's the deal. We'll email you, the tour manager. She will email you and confirm for sure. And I said, okay, cool. So I still didn't know, whenever the Prom King set was, I didn't know. So then I got an email later that day. I think this was the second day of the cruise, because it's tomorrow. I'm pretty sure it was. I didn't find out the day of. No, it was the day before. So yeah, she emailed me and said, "Yep, you're gonna play Something Wild during the wilderness show, if you could meet at the sound area at 8:15, we'll get you set up.
So that was before the set would start? You would be there before the
Yeah.
set would start then? Okay.
Yeah, they said yeah, because the set was at 9:15 that night.
Gotcha.
So then I'm like, okay. So then I started telling people I'm playing during the wilderness set, and we had,
Mm-hmm.
a bunch of friends who were, I was telling everybody, all my friends, and I was super excited and also insanely nervous.
Sure.
I have to talk about that I was
Yeah.
insanely nervous leading up to it because I mean, what, like playing in front of a bunch of like thousand or whatever people, which
Yeah.
I've done that before, but this is
There was
different.
there was over 1,800 fans on the ship. I don't know how
Okay.
many of them on their pool deck, but it was probably close, right? You're at an
Yeah.
Andrew cruise. You're probably at the Andrew concert.
hmm And then playing with my favorite singer on stage with him on kind of a hard song. So to prepare, I did play for my students. Like I performed it with the track. Just
Mm-hmm.
and I thought, okay, I need to mimic eyes looking at me. And I what I would do, I played it for all of my classes, so that ended up being 5 times over the course of a day.
Mm-hmm.
And what I did was while I played it, I imagined what it would look like from my perspective on the stage. Like I really tried to simulate the nerves. When I get really nervous, which doesn't happen often anymore, but my palms get sweaty and my hands get shaky. So when I played for my students, that did happen, which was good.
Yeah.
The other thing that happens is I will make silly mistakes I never make before, like tiny things. And it's good because in front of my kids, it's really a safe space. They're not going
Yeah.
to give me a hard time. So I did that and that felt good. But I was also like, all right, I'm just going to be really nervous and it's just going to be what it's going to be. My husband, at some point, maybe on the ship or maybe before, he said, do you want to do this? Because you don't have to. If it's too much, you don't have to. And I was like, thank you. I appreciate you. He's very encouraging. He's wonderful. And I said, no, I like the fact that I'm scared. It means I'm doing something. I'm putting myself out there and I want to do this. I want to
Mm-hmm.
experience this. So, all right. So then the day of the show, we meet at 8:15. I went to the backstage area and I said, can my husband come with me? And she says, oh, of course. And from that moment on, every single crew member, artist, everybody we met was so kind and so encouraging. Every single person, which I think shows that the people Andrew surrounds himself with are good humans. He said that, I think, too, but it was really that way. I felt so treated so well. And I know I'm a fan in the artist space. So, anyway, so we go
Right.
backstage and we go to the little sound booth that's next to the stage and they like they plug in a wireless power pack into the violin and I remember thinking like, okay, what am I gonna wear? And actually the dress is right here, the red dress. But I was
Oh
like, I
wow,
need
yeah, it is the red
yeah,
dress.
yeah, that's the dress. And you know what, funny fact that for fashionistas, if you find an outfit that fits you well, buy more than one. I have this dress in black. And it's what I wore when I conducted swim for that video that's on my YouTube, but I wore the
Yeah.
black version with a
Uh-huh.
cardigan or something over it. So I bought the red one because I really liked how it fit. So anyway, that dress has kind of holes in the back, and I was prepared to change because I knew I was going to need something to clip those things.
Mm-hmm.
Thankfully, there was a place to clip on that dress. If I'd worn a normal dress without an open back, I would have been, I don't know what I would have done. So they clip it on and they're like, do you want to do a sound check on the stage? And they gave me in-ear monitors. And I was like, actually, yeah. I said, can I tune to the piano? And they're like, oh, it's fake. Just tune to a tuner. And I was like, interesting.
What do you mean it's fake? What does that mean?
Well, they didn't really elaborate, so I don't know. But I guess what it means is there's something about it where the strings don't go out of tune.
Okay.
Because a typical piano with strings may not be perfectly in tune with an electronic tuner. And so
Okay.
you always tune, like as a violinist myself, I always tune to the piano. And they're like, well, you can, but you can just use your tuner. But they let me, I also just wanted to be on stage for a second to just get a
Yeah.
sense. So they let me do that. And
Get a feel
um,
for the what that would look like to look out on
yeah,
the and there were people out there, right? Because
there were a
people tend to
few.
gather early.
Yeah. And so my friends, Christy, Ariel, Krista, if I don't mention your name, please know that I appreciate all of your love. But they were the right. from looking from the stage to the right hand corner, and they like cheered for me as soon as I went up there for the
Yeah.
sound check, which was really cool.
Hmm.
So I did that just because I just felt better. And then I go back and I go, am I going to get to run this song at all with Andrew? Because I just, musicians, you typically run through something at least once before you perform it. And
Yeah.
they're like, well, that we hope so. We'll see. I was like, okay,
Oh.
okay, sure. I'll roll with this. So then we go back out, and I said, where can I put my stuff? Because I had two violin cases and a bag with my heels and just some stuff. And Amandine goes, oh, you can go, we can have you go in the green room where the musicians are. And I was like, really? Okay. I said, and we'll get you talent badges so that they know you're okay to be back here. We just need to have them back. And I was like, oh yeah, of course. So they give us the badges,
You and your husband?
my husband and I. Yeah, and he's with me
Yeah.
the whole time, like
Yeah. Okay.
right there, just kind of watching all of this happen. And I think while I was on stage, Ryan talked to him, and Julian said Ryan was like super nice and very
Yeah, he is.
complimentary and just good guy. So we go into the green room, and I sit in a corner and set my stuff down, and there's like Zach Clark is there. I mean, the band is there, obviously the Wilderness Band.
Unreal.
Andrew wasn't there yet, but they were there, and a
Just
couple of
hanging
the
with the band
soca.
in the green room. No big
They're
deal,
expecting.
right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and oh no, I'm sorry. Before that happened, I said, when do I play this song? When is it in the set list? And Amandine goes somewhere and pulls out a fresh set list and hands it to me and says, please don't share this with anybody. I'm like, oh, of course. So I get a set list, my first set list.
All right.
And
And
it's
it was
all
handed
clean
to
and
you from the
neat.
tour manager before
Handed
the
to me.
show.
Yeah, so I took it with me, and I saw where it was near the end. And the only thing I did do is I did text Christy because I said I would. I said, told her which song I was after. So I was after Stars. So I just texted after Stars, and that's it. I was not going to give it away. So we go back there. We talked to the band guys who were there. Zach was like blowing into a straw, which is a vocal warm up. I was telling Julian, I'm like, he's not just being
Oh,
silly. He's doing a vocal warm up where you buzz into a straw. It just warms up your voice.
wouldn't have ever known that.
Yeah, because it looks silly.
I would have
People,
thought I would have thought he was being silly if I saw that.
yeah. Yeah. So we talked to him, and Zach was so, his so Zach just so
Yeah.
nice and like elevates you to another level. I feel he like takes you up into the clouds and
Uh-huh.
into the spirit world a little bit. Talked to Mikey, and they were all just so nice, and they knew why I was there. Or maybe I told them, I don't know, but they knew, and they were all like so or encouraging to me, like, you're gonna do
Hmm.
great. We're so excited to have you. Bobby's like, oh, I'm so glad I'm not playing that solo, because I think when they've done it live, sometimes he's played some version of the solo, and
Interesting.
and he said it doesn't work well on guitar.
I wouldn't imagine it could, but I don't know. I've never seen that.
Yeah, or he
I
like
didn't know they did it without a violinist, actually.
Yeah, he had said that. And actually, Andrew had mentioned that. I forgot at some point he had said, yeah, Bobby will be happy to have an actual violinist so he doesn't have to try to do the solo.
Right.
But everybody, I don't know if they could tell I was nervous or they figured I would be, but they're all so encouraging. Like, you're going to do great. It's going to be awesome. We talked to, let's see, Brian Ireland was back there, and he talked to my husband for quite a while.
Hmm.
Then Andrew comes in his astronaut outfit, you know.
Yeah.
And he comes up to me, and I think he gave me a hug. I'm pretty sure he did. And he goes, "Hey," and he says, "Are you at all concerned that we've never played this song together before?" And I said, "Yes." And he goes, "Good." And that immediately put me at ease. Like, he was aware of how I would feel.
Because he was feeling the same, I'm sure. Right?
Probably,
Yeah.
maybe, I don't know. And he goes, "Don't worry. You're going to be fine. If something weird happens, just riff in B flat, because that's the key of the song." And I was like, "Uh-huh. Uh-huh." I'm a classically trained violinist. I can kind of riff, which is like make up your own thing, but that's not really my jam. I like to pre-plan. So, but I was like, okay. And I had a couple little questions like, oh, I was like, when Allie played with him, the violin was very echoey. And I said, hey, listen, can they make sure that when I play it's not like that? Because there's a lot of notes. And he goes, oh yeah, do you want it bone dry? I said, well, no, I want a little reverb. And he described what I wanted very specifically that I in words I couldn't say because I was nervous and I don't know all the technical words for
Sure.
that side of things. And he was like, "You want it blah 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 blah, blah with just a little touch of this and blah blah blah." And I was like, "Yes, that's what I want." And he's like,
Hmm.
"Gotcha." And so he,
Oh, wow.
went off and did that. And so
He
then we're
interpreted
sitting
that
there.
for you.
Yeah, and I mean, he knows the song too, so he probably knew how it should. I mean, he knew how it's supposed to sound. So then
Yeah.
another fun thing was it became clear we weren't running this song before the show. And I was
Okay.
like, well, cool. You know what? Everyone's vibe here, the vibe was like, we're having fun, we're chilling. Everyone was like just happy and relaxed. And I was
Mm-hmm.
like, I was taking that in and my nerves calmed down. I still had just enough nervous energy, but I really felt better. Like I was like, no, this is gonna be fun. They're just here having fun. I'm gonna be okay. It's gonna be great. But I still was like, I gotta play this solo. So I practiced it, like the solo part, and I was
Right
playing it
there in
on
the
that.
green room you did in front of a.
Yeah, and the electric violin's really quiet without being plugged in, so it wasn't
Okay.
disruptive. Because
Right.
I wouldn't do that. But I played it, and Andrew was over nearby. He was looking at me, and he was like dancing while I was playing it, like grooving like this.
Mm-hmm.
While I was playing it, I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna be fine."
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And then here's another thing he said at some point. He goes, "Oh, also, hey, we're cutting one little part of the song. So there's a part where near the end they repeat a part of the chorus." And he's like, "We're not doing that repeat. We're just jumping on here. And then we're gonna do the woes, blah blah blah. You'll be fine. Just watch me and you'll figure it out." And I'm like, "Uh-huh."
Oh my gosh.
So I pull out my sheet music. I thought I knew what he was talking about, but I looked at it and played it and I was like, I think he knows what I mean. What I think I know what he means, but I'm gonna just watch him. And
Mm-hmm.
when he sings the woes, there's a certain thing I will play. If I get mixed up, I just catch him there. No problem.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And then also I had everybody sign my set list because,
Of
you
course.
know.
Oh, you have to.
And Andrew's like, "Oh, you need the one from the stage that has your name on it." And he's like, "Well, I'll just write your name on this one and we'll get you both." I was like, "You ever make both set lists?" And I said, "You know what? I'm good with one. Let another fan have that other one. I know how some people really are into the set list." I said, "I have my set list. I'm good."
Mm-hmm.
So they all signed it and I've got it. All right, so fast forward, the show starts. They let us stay on that side VIP area where other people who are allowed backstage can watch the show. So we had a really good view.
Mm-hmm.
And they wanted me to come back two songs before, which was so close. Because it was so close, Stars, then Something Wild.
Mm-hmm.
So at the end of Maps, when he sings Coffee and Aspirin, I was like, all right, hun, let's go. So my husband came with me. I got tuned. I put on my heels, which are my lucky red wedding shoes.
Okay.
And I had another big solo years ago and I wore my shoes for that. So they're like really special. So put on my shoes, tuned, came out, they got me all connected. And while I was walking, my right heel broke.
Oh.
And not
Whoa.
like it separated,
It
the
didn't.
heel part
Okay. It didn't come
separated.
completely off.
No, it didn't. It's hard to describe, but it like came like this. And so if I pushed this part back, it would be okay, but it wasn't attached anymore. Not just the heel, but
It
like,
sounds dangerous though to
yeah,
walk
yeah,
in
yeah, it is. It is.
or dance around and play violin in it.
Well, right, right. So Ivory Lane saw this. She was back there and she had just sang with Andrew. So she saw it
Uh-huh.
and she goes, "Oh, your heel broke. Her heel broke. Oh no." And she looks at me and goes, "Would you like to borrow
Aw.
my boots?" And she had these really cool white boots on. And I was like, "Oh, thank you." I said, "I think I'll be okay." And I pushed the heel back and thought, if I just walk on my toes on this foot, I'll be fine. So I was like, "These are my lucky shoes. Thank you so much." But Ivory Lane was helping me
That was
out. She had my
sweet.
back. Yeah, she's
That was
great.
so sweet.
All right, so we get there. So I'm waiting, and Andrew does his introduction of me, and I'm like, wow, he's speaking so highly of me. And he got the story slightly wrong, but that's kind of fun, and it doesn't matter, right? Like, I didn't
Wh-
offer that song, but it doesn't
What did
matter.
he? What did he say?
He said that I offered to play Something Wild, and he actually picked the song.
Oh,
Tiny
really? Okay. I
detail.
guess I didn't even. Yeah, I didn't even pick up that detail when you just told me that story earlier.
Tiny detail. And Christy and I both talked about it too. We're like, but he got it a little wrong, but that's okay.
Because you said, "Could I play with you sometime?" But you didn't say which song, and he
Right.
said something wild. Okay.
That's right. It doesn't matter. It was just funny. I was like, oh, it's a little
Yeah.
different than I remember.
Yeah.
So he calls me up. So I'm like, okay, here we go. So we walk on stage and I'm walking on my toes so I don't fall. And then all of a sudden I hear my little friend group chant my name. And I'm like, oh, that's so sweet. And then all of a sudden the entire
Yep.
pool deck is chanting my
Yep.
name and
We
Andrew's
were.
egging them on. And I'm looking around going, what is happening? And I felt so loved. and encouraged. Like I was like, it doesn't matter what happens and how I play.
Exactly.
I'm
Just
here
like
in a safe
Andrew originally
space.
said. You're a fan playing on stage with me. They're going to love you.
Yeah. And my friend Emily, who, by the way, the little rose crown thing I wore, she made that and gave that out at the Atlanta show. So I wore that. She had a sign that said, "We love you, Cindy," in the middle of the crowd that I could
Oh,
see. And I was like,
that's so
there's
sweet.
a sign with my name on it. What is happening? And
Because you're a rock star.
I felt okay, I had 5 minutes of being a rock star, and it was the best, some of the best 5 minutes of my life. So, all right, so then we're there, and the chimes down, and Andrew's like, "You ready?" And I was like, "Yeah." I don't know if you watch the video, I pluck the strings real quick before we start because I
Hmm.
wanted to make sure that the sound was going out. That was
Yeah.
just me just going, I hope I'm turned on. And it was. So, and I was like, I don't even know how we're going to start. I'll figure it out, I guess.
Yeah.
Probably a countdown. So I look at him and I hear in my earbuds one or like 1, 2, 3, 4, and he nods his head and we start. And I was present the whole time. I took in every second of every moment of playing. It was magic. It was absolute magic because it's happening. Like we're playing, I hear it, I see it, and I can hear myself playing, and it's fitting in, sounding the way it's supposed to. And that little intro. And also with the things going on with school, I was just like, I'm gonna just be in this. And all the
Yeah.
dancing during the cruise just had loosened me up because I'm a very like kind of kind of prim proper-ish person, and I'm not, it's hard for me to dance sometimes. So,
Hmm.
but by the time we got to that point in the cruise, I'd been dancing the whole 3 days. So
Hmm.
I was like loosened up and just ready for it. So I moved more than I normally do when I play, which felt good. So we play. And I play and then I don't play while he sings for a little bit. And I had a plan that I was going to either look at my strings or at my friend group. So looking anywhere else wouldn't make me nervous.
Hmm.
But I wasn't nervous anymore. I was just happy. So I looked all around.
Oh my gosh. That's so cool. And you remember that. It's
I
not like
remember, I
a,
remember looking, like taking it in, like, look at
yeah.
this. This is so cool. And I was kind of singing along with the song. And then Andrew's looking at me while he's singing at the beginning. And then
Hmm.
I look at him and we're like making eye contact. He's singing these words to me. That's what it felt like, you
Yeah.
know? And he was.
Hmm.
And the words mean so much. I know we'll get to that. So then I jump in and I keep playing and I'm watching him and it just flowed and went through and we're going along and it's just going really beautifully and I just feel loosened up and just like this is just so fun. I'm just going and then as we approach the solo, I start to get a little bit more nervous, but I'm like, it's gonna be fine, just do it. I know it.
Right.
And so we get close to that part and we get there and he says, "All right," or "Let's go," or whatever it was that he says. I don't remember. And he stands up off the piano and I'm like, "Let's go." And so then I think I just decide I'm like, I'm looking here, so I am focused. So I just do this thing and people are like cheering and
Yeah.
he's cheering and it's just going well and it's all good. It goes well and I get through this one part that's kind of hard that I was nervous about and I got it and it was all good. And we finish it and then that's when it cuts down and he starts singing softly. And then that's when the audience cheered and he like stopped the song because everyone was cheering. So it felt I guess just magical and unreal and beautiful. And I felt so loved, I guess is the best way to describe it. It wasn't just this like, oh, look at me, I'm showing off. It was like I felt loved. Yeah.
Yeah. From the people on the stage, the backstage, and the people out in front of you, the crowd.
Yes.
It was easy to feel as a fan and out in the crowd. The energy was like, it's hard to explain. It's really hard to explain what it felt like. I'm getting emotional myself.
Oh,
It was just so I'll give you my perspective and
yes,
it's going to
please.
sound a little bit similar to yours in that I remember that moment. So there was the anticipation throughout the set, right? I didn't know when it was going to be. I knew that you were, because you had said it was a wilderness night, so I knew it was in that set. And I had my play. I stayed in the same spot most every set of Andrews, a little bit back by the gazebo, and I had a good view, good vantage point. My wife was up front. So
Nice.
firstly, before the show started, ahead of time, I was like, you have one job. I was like, I don't care what else you record. I don't care what else you take a picture of, but you have to get pictures of Cindy and a recording of Cindy from up front. knowing full well that other people probably had the same mission, but that's okay. She was front and center, so I was like, make sure you do. And I was like, you don't need to record anything else for me, but I was like, but I do want you to record that one. So I went to watch Truesdale, and so that was part of the reason I wasn't up front, because I chose to go watch Truesdale, and so I had to take my spot near the back by the time that was over with. The whole set I'm anticipating. I'm like, when's it going to be? When is Cindy coming out? And when he introduced, it was pretty clear what was happening the second, the last song. So apparently it was Stars. I didn't remember that detail, but as soon as that song ended, it was pretty clear because of what he started to say. It's like there was enough people around me that knew, like, this is the moment. And that's not maybe literally what we were saying, but you could tell the way the energy was that some people in the crowd knew. And I found out afterward, by the way, kind of skipping ahead, but the girl next to me knew who you were too, because I think it was after the song. She's like, you know Cindy, right? And I'm like, yeah. She could see how excited I was.
I wonder who that was.
I could tell you. It was Barb.
Oh, yeah,
okay.
Of course.
Barb. Yeah. Yeah. So I happened to be standing next to her, and we've chatted before, but I didn't realize that you guys knew each other. But yeah, so that was pretty cool to be standing next to Barb and her husband. But we weren't the only ones, by the way. There was a roar when you came out, Cindy, Cindy, Cindy. It wasn't just the front, as you know now. It was the whole crowd, and it was like, and anybody who didn't know who you were, which I'm sure there are plenty of people who don't know you that were in that crowd as well. But it's like everybody. It felt like everybody joined anyway. It felt like it was like this moment, like you were the representative of the fan base, we get, this fan is getting on stage playing her instrument with our favorite band. Like, how cool is this for her? How cool is this for us? It was just one of those moments, and I think it's something I'll never forget. And it was again, as I alluded to, it was an emotional moment to see that. And I think along with you, I was anticipating, what's this going to sound like? How's she going to do? Is she going to do great? I'm sure she is, but let's see what, and then you started playing, and I was like, oh my God, she's better than I thought she'd be. I can't believe how good she is. I knew you were a musician. I knew you had the training. I knew you had the schooling. I knew, you've been doing this a long time, but to see that come to life on stage in front of all those people was incredible. I got to ask right now, have you done something like this before? I know you've played concerts, obviously.
Yeah.
But have you played... Okay, go ahead.
So there was one that was, I would say, similar-ish in experience. When we lived in Colorado the first time, I was the concertmaster of the Parker Symphony, which the concertmaster is the first chair, first violinist. And which that was a big deal. And the conductor said, hey, there's this really cool We Three Kings violin solo. Would you be interested? And I listened to it, and I was like, oh, yeah, this is cool. And it's like Lindsey Stirling-ish. It's not one of hers, but it's a full symphony orchestra. And I played an electric violin. I borrowed another violinist's instrument. And it has a rock sort of beat to it, but it's also classical. It's blended genre. And it was very hard, harder than something wild and longer and not, just instrumental. That was a very similar experience because that was a tough solo and electric violin.
Yeah.
But, different setting.
Sure.
It felt similar to that, though. And that was tough for me. And it was good. It turned out really well. So I would put those two as my two peak, solo violin experiences.
Where all eyes are on you, right? The audience is looking at you out of everybody on stage at that moment. Yeah, because that's what we've seen Andrew, and we love it, but we're usually focused on Andrew and some of the other band members at times, and probably a lot of the times, but you were the new thing on stage. You were the new person on stage, right? So it was natural to divert our eyes to the new person playing on stage that we don't normally get to see. Plus, again, as we talked about at the top of the episode, it's a violin, and Andrew doesn't have violin in most of his music. So, when Allie came out, I think it was two nights before. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe it was the third. I don't remember when, but she played. Same idea, right? We're looking at her because she's playing the violin. So yeah, all eyes were on you. I would say it sounds like you felt it, but in a positive way.
Yeah.
But the crowd was just going nuts because, again, even people who didn't know who you were like, the way he introduced you, it was clear that you're a fan that got to come on stage and play with Andrew. And the fact that you nailed it was like way more than icing on the cake. Icing on the cake doesn't begin to cover it because it was incredible. It wasn't just you playing violin. It was like you were all in. The emotion came through the violin, and I feel like the crowd was erupting before the song even ended. But when it
Hmm.
ended, it was like, I don't know. It might have been some of the loudest cheers I remember. Maybe it was just me, but like
It
I
felt
felt
that
like
way
it.
for me, but
Yeah,
I was in my own
yeah.
had my own situation where, oh yes.
And then at the end, Barb and I were very focused the whole time, and it was then at the end that she turned to me and was like, "You know Cindy, right?" And I'm like, "Yeah." She's like, "That was amazing." I was like, "That was amazing. I
Aw.
can't believe it." We just had big old smiles on our faces, and it was cool to share that moment too with somebody because, again, my wife was up front with our friend group, and like I was in the back, so it was kind of cool to have that little moment too, and like, yeah, we know Cindy, like, and it
Nice.
it it felt like again, the fans, I feel like the fans in general got something special out of that. So
Aw.
so thank you for that, by the way.
Oh, well, you're welcome. I mean, and I just want to say thank you to everybody who was, every single person who was so supportive. It's really something to have that many people chant your name and cheer for you like that. The closest I can come to is a kindergarten class when they see you in the hallway. It's like
Yeah.
that, and that is a whole other level of stardom that is special too. But I just felt so much love, and that Andrew was doing it too, or like he was encouraging the crowd, or
Right.
when the solo was done and he stopped and he goes, "Come on now," or something like that, like he did. I'm like, what? And then when after that happened, we had to still finish the song, and that cut was coming, and I was like, okay,
Oh, the part where he cut out.
where he cut out, and I was like, okay. So I'm playing and I'm watching and I'm like, it could be here or it could be here. And I thought it could be right when the band comes back in. So I don't know if you noticed, but if you want to go back and listen, after he sings the quiet part and the band cuts out and then the band comes back in, I play a high note because I think maybe that's where he's going to jump to the woes. And he doesn't. And as soon as I realize he doesn't, I jump to the low original note. And I listened to it. I'm like, it doesn't sound like a mistake, thankfully. And it's the same note. It's just higher versus lower. So I was like, it's not here. So I'm playing. I'm like, okay, maybe it's the next thing. And it was the next thing. So I jumped to the woes. And when I did it, I was watching Andrew too, because I was like, all right. And he nodded at me when I got it. He nodded.
He was watching you, making sure that you got it, and you got it right away.
He did. And oh, he also nodded at me on another spot. The second time he sings, even though you're scared, I nodded at him because I was scared. And then he looks right back
Oh,
at
so
me and
cool.
nods at me. You're stronger than you know.
Oh my gosh,
He's
what a
saying that right to me.
moment. Yeah, what a moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
Your ability to play that song the way you did wasn't as surprising to me as how comfortable you looked up there. And it sounds like it had a lot to do with the way that Andrew and his crew and his bands all treated you ahead of time and put you at ease, right? And the fact that you had
Yep.
your husband, I'm sure, was a great support for you.
Oh, yes.
But you looked so natural, and that's what was, I guess, surprising to me. It's like I knew you could play violin well, let's face it, but you looked like you belonged there, and
Oh, thank you.
that's what was so neat. It's like you owned it, and I would argue even made it your own. Like it was your own thing. Like you came with the confidence and the poise and the emotion again came through your violin at us. So it was really fun to watch, and it was again one of the easily one of the most memorable moments on both the Holiday from Real cruises for me.
Wow. Well, thank you. It was
Yeah.
unbelievable. And then after we did get to go to the post concert party with the crew, with the band.
Oh, so cool because you're part of the
Ryan
band
invited us.
tonight,
Yeah,
right?
Ryan invited. I went back and Julian had videoed me from back at the back of the stage. So I have a video from behind, which is cool.
Oh, that's so cool.
And when I came out, he was like, "Great job!" And he goes, "Hey, they invited us to the post-concert party," and I was like, "No way!" From then on, for about 48 hours, I felt like a mini celebrity because suddenly I became the violinist who played, the violinist who played Something Wild. And so throughout the rest of the couple days on the ship and even on the at the airport, people recognized me and talked to me and wanted
Hmm.
a couple people even wanted pictures with me. I was like, well, sure, of course.
I mean, I
Um,
did.
that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was really something. People like, wait, are you the violinist that played, are you Cindy? Well, they all know my name.
Hmm.
And I was like, yeah, yeah, like that was so cool. And I heard really cool stories about how people connected to that song, whether it's with their children or some of them had it at their wedding or it's just their favorite song they'd never seen live before and it was their dream to see it live. Think really cool stories like that that were just it's like it continued even after the show was done, which was really cool.
I wouldn't say this is an underrated song in the fan base. I think it gets its due. I can't even say it's easy to forget. It's just like because it's not on one of his albums, right? You called it a
Hmm.
B-side. It's on Lindsey Stirling's album. It's on Pete's Dragon soundtrack. So it doesn't maybe come up as often as the other songs that we love. But I think people appreciate it, love the lyrics, love the message,
Hmm.
and it feels very much like in Andrew's wheelhouse, with
Yeah.
what the song is.
Hmm.
And I think that's why a lot of us connect with it, both on the stage, but as we're listening at home or in our car too. Seeing it live is just so special. I mentioned this earlier. I've always loved seeing it live. I've seen Morgan Paris perform, and I was fortunate to see them several times during that era when she was with the band. I actually saw online that she like joined Andrew on stage at the pop up LA show
I
two
saw
weekends ago.
that. Yeah, she and Allie.
Oh, really? I didn't realize that. So I didn't watch any of that footage, to be honest, because I was on vacation. I kind of caught that, and I was like, "Oh, I got to go back and watch that. I should go back and watch people's clips of those." But
Hmm.
did they happen to play something wild? I don't think so,
I don't
but
know.
it's not listed on Setlist FM. So
Okay.
if they did, we need to up. I need to update that, or somebody
Yeah.
does. But
Yeah.
yeah, so you kind of alluded to this at one point, and actually when you mentioned what your husband said to you, so I want to go back to that. Was there a point that you thought maybe I would rather just be a member of the audience, maybe I would just rather be a fan today, and not this spotlight and not this pressure and not I don't want to say have to do this thing, but like
Sure.
do this thing that's causing maybe some stress or anxiety.
Yes, I did have a couple of moments of like,
Hmm.
it'd be kind of nice to just be like the last cruise and just chill and
Yeah.
just and I was thinking if Mike Wilderness is my favorite of the three,
Hmm.
that it'd be fun to be barricade or try to get under the parachute for synesthesia. That I haven't done that yet,
Yeah.
and I did think about that, but then I was like, anything I've ever done that has scared me in this sort of way has been so rewarding. And so I'm doing it. I'm doing it. And I made sure that I didn't let it ruin my vacation. Like I
That's
was
good.
not a bundle of nerves the first 3 days of the cruise leading up to it. I was excited, but I made sure, I don't know, I feel like I was able to just enjoy. And then as it got closer, especially the hour or two before, I was a bundle of nerves and just like not physically shaking, but I could feel it inside. Like we were at dinner and I was like we just sat and I was just like, okay, it's 2 or so hours before and I'm just like, this time needs to pass faster.
Hmm.
And okay, let's go to the room. I don't want to be late. I'm going to change right now.
I'm glad you addressed that because I thought about asking you and I wasn't sure if I was going to or not. But I'm glad to hear it didn't ruin your vacation, or not ruin, but like
Hmm.
put a damper on it because of
Yeah.
feeling nervous. I'm glad
Yeah.
that you didn't allow it to take over because this is such a special time with other, our fellow fans, seeing the music, the live music that we love. Hopefully you were able to enjoy the SoCo show on day one and the Jack show
Hmm.
on day two. And even some of that you mentioned seeing Polyglam live and like in some of those other moments on the ship that were so important to us because that's why we go on this thing, right? For
Hmm.
these other all these other moments. I'm glad it didn't damper any of that. I'm really happy to hear that. I could see how easy it would be for that 5 minutes that anticipate that 5 minutes that you're on stage, the entire 48 or 72 hours before that too.
I could
So
have easily done that, but
yeah,
I made a deliberate choice. I was like, you know what? I'm here for it. I'm here for the music. I'm here for to have a good time and be with friends and fans and thankfully I was able to do that with a little little fire of nervous energy just in the background the whole time until I was done.
We can easily, very easily tie your feelings and what you did instead of stepping back and not letting it take over to the topic of the song, right? And
Oh,
and
100%.
yeah, what this song, what they wrote the song about, Lindsey and Andrew wrote this song about, and the lyrics that they have in this song, I think are very relevant to this experience for you. So if you're good with it, I'd like to talk about that.
Would love that.
So on the official, I'm just going to talk a little bit about what Lindsey said about the song, what Andrew said about the song. On the official booklet of Brave Enough, Lindsey explains that every song on the album, Brave Enough, represents a step, and this is a quote, a step that has taken me from being a heartbroken lost girl wishing for bravery to a woman who is ready to answer the call of something wild. And then she said about something wild specifically, I think in an interview, she states, comfort and predictability may come to those who follow the safe route. However, personal fulfillment and adventure is within the reach of those who trust their inner voice and follow its call. So I feel like that was very relevant to what you just described, like how you were feeling, how you handled that, what you could have done, but what you did instead, and you jumped up there and owned it. Is there anything that about what Lindsey has said about the album, about this song, that speaks to you about playing it? Can you relate to that?
100%. I mean, comfort and predictability would be to just be a fan on the cruise, which is what I,
Mm-hmm.
planned on and what I was the first time.
Yeah.
And that's the safe route. And when my husband gave me an out, and I had an out any time, but he spoke it into being. He's like, you can step
Mm-hmm.
off this if you want. And he gave me that out. And it was almost like I wish I'd seen this quote before, but I mean that I felt like I could have said these exact words.
Mm-hmm.
That fulfillment and adventure is what I'm going for. And
Mm-hmm.
I got to trust my voice and follow its call. Like this opportunity's here. I want to do this,
Yeah.
even though it really scares me. I want to do it.
It's
Yeah.
some of the most exciting things that we can do in our lives are the most scary leading into it.
Yep.
And then we can be so grateful that we took the opportunity and we answered that call and we're like, look what I did, and look what it's done for me. And
Hmm.
you've already related it to your move. You're
Hmm.
jumping into this new adventure in your life, and it's incredibly exciting and probably scary,
Hmm.
but I know you're going to learn something about yourself out of it too. And it's something that you could go the safe route. You could be like, oh, I've taught for 22 years and I could get a teaching job and
Yep.
I could do that again. And then, I'll know what that looks like. It's predictable. It's safe, right? But doing the other thing and not knowing what's next, that's a scary thing. But yeah, I applaud you for it. I think this song, if I, for my own interpretation, I think this song is at least in part about taking risks, right? Which we're talking about, and chasing your dreams. As a performer, in a sense, you're taking a risk by putting yourself out there. Like you could have gotten up there and you could have disappointed yourself.
Hmm.
Again, we've already talked about this. We probably wouldn't have noticed. We probably would have been like, yay, Cindy, no matter what. But I mean, you definitely nailed it. But like, even if you hadn't, we'd probably be like, that was still cool. That was
Hmm.
great. But you might have disappointed yourself. So like you really put yourself out there, even for your own personal self, to possibly fail. But you took that opportunity. Do you feel like you fulfilled a dream, or is that too big? Is that too heady?
No, I feel exactly like I fulfilled a dream that I didn't think could ever be fulfilled. Like how,
Mm-hmm.
as a musician, I don't know, like saying, "Oh, I'm played on stage with my favorite singer."
Yeah.
And I was telling my husband this the other day. I said, one thing cool about Andrews is he's accessible. Because if I do enjoy Taylor Swift, there is no way I would ever end up on stage with Taylor Swift. Like, there's just no way.
Never say
Just
never. I'm just gonna
well,
say it. Never
sure,
say
sure,
never.
sure. Well, let's just say it would be a
Yeah.
much lower probability, right? Like some
Sure.
random fan just going, "Hey Taylor, can I play with your band?" It
Or
wouldn't even,
she's
you
no
know,
Andrew that way.
she's
She's
not
no
Andrew,
Andrew
and
that way.
and
Yeah.
she's just too big of an artist, and
Yeah.
there's all these factors. And so this is a dream that like I could have made up and gone, "Oh, that'd be neat." Yeah, right, but never thought it would actually happen, which is why I don't know why. I asked him to play with him. I don't know. Again, I feel like I was possessed by something. Bravery, maybe. I don't know.
It's wild. It is. I don't mean to. That's no pun intended. It's wild. Sometimes I just say that. It's
Yeah.
wild to me that you did that, and that's a little outside of your personality. It sounds like
Hmm.
to
Yeah.
ask someone
Yeah.
something like that. That's
Yeah. Yeah.
that's and he could have, yeah, he could have said no, and he still
Yeah.
would be one of your favorite artists of all time, and he
Oh,
still would have
yeah.
been like, oh, he's cool. He played it off and maybe made a joke or whatever he might have done instead. But like,
Yeah.
you did it, and he was like, sure. I mean, in the end, he was like, sure, let's do it.
Yeah. So it definitely was a dream come true. And the way it felt to me, I would say, is one of the top 5 moments of my entire life.
Wow.
Just the
Wow.
feeling that, number one probably being my wedding,
Hmm.
because that was a wonderful day. And another one being this, and another one running the Boston Marathon, like a thing that
Hmm.
I never thought I would have done. Never say never. The slow kid in middle school who was not athletic qualified for and ran Boston in 2022.
Yeah.
Like that was another
Awesome.
moment of like running that and crossing that finish line was like, I can't believe this is happening.
That's incredible.
So that's
Congratulations.
Boston. Thank you. And there are a few other moments like that that are up there, and this one will be a forever up there moment in my life.
I'm so glad that you have a recording of it. And I don't know,
Yeah,
is that comfortable or uncomfortable to
I
watch back? Have you
love it.
watched it?
Oh yes, and
Yeah.
and it
Okay.
feels good to watch it because it just reminds me of what it was, and it's cool to see what the audience perspective was like because I can
That
definitely
would be
recall
cool.
what I saw.
Hmm.
But I love seeing the audience perspective. And honestly, it felt good to be like, oh, I don't look like a fool. Oh, I had good posture. Because sometimes I kind of slump when I play. Oh, look, I used my entire bow. Because I tell my students, use your bow. And there's one picture where my bow is at the frog. And I fuss at my kids to
Hmm.
play at the frog. And I should probably make a little meme of that and be like, look, see, I'm at the frog. Look, I'm at the tip.
Uh-huh.
I should do that. I enjoy watching it.
Have they seen the video, your
Oh,
kids?
yes. Oh,
Okay, I
yes.
figured, but I just wanted
Yes.
to make sure.
They did.
That's important. I love the fact that we have the videos to watch. So I have the perspective, and you're making me realize that the perspective I have is fully just those of you in the playing music on stage. It
Hmm.
doesn't include any of the audience, but that would be cool to see too. Now, I know if you search on YouTube, there's a couple different angles out there, I know.
Yeah.
The one that I posted, which was my wife's video again, is right up front. The camera guy was kind of in the way, and she was a little
Hmm.
disappointed, and she like came back apologetically, like the camera person just happened to stand right in front of me between Cindy and I, and so you got a lot. And I'm like, that's okay. Did you enjoy it? Like that's. I hope that she enjoyed it as much as I did, and I think she did.
Yeah.
But I know she was a little stressed about like trying to make sure that she got the whole thing because that's what I asked her to do. But so it is cool to rewatch the videos, and I'm glad that you're not critical of the little things. I'm glad it sounds like you appreciate all the things that you did right because it looked all right to us. So
Oh, thank you. I mean, there were
yeah,
some little things that happened,
sure, we could. Yeah, I mean, you could.
but you know,
Yeah. But it looked very good and it sounded very good and you
thank
did a
you.
great job. And from a non musician standpoint, just a fan, just someone who watches music, listens to music, everything looked and sounded right to me. And I think that's what's important. Regarding the songwriting, though, Andrew also told this story in Pontiac in 2021. So I mentioned those drive-in shows.
Hmm.
He also did like what were called some pod shows, which is it was so weird if you've never heard of this, but just a couple in Pontiac, Michigan, and you would buy a group ticket for like 200 or 225 or something like that for up to 6 people, and then you'd all stand in this corral. Basically,
Huh.
each group got their own corral. It's kind of a cool way to watch a concert. I would not. I've said it before in this podcast. I would not mind if that's how concerts were, like where each group of people got their own space. But it was really just like a corral on a parking lot. But anyway, with all that said, in 2021, he played the song. Morgan was in the band, and he had this to say. He said, "You know how every once in a while you come across one of those once in a lifetime experiences. Well, apparently when they wrote the song, this was one of them." He said he got a call from Disney and he was invited to come watch the movie Pete's Dragon with Lindsey Stirling. And I know some people have heard this story before, but they watched the movie at the Disney studio on the lot, I think.
Wow.
And immediately after they watched it, he and Lindsey went to a record. They were taken to a recording studio. That was the plan. Like, all right, now we're going to go record this song. So they got to be inspired by the whole film.
Oh,
Immediately
wow.
afterward, go write the song together. And he's like, we wrote it in a few hours. And
Wow.
there were two other co-writers in the track. They were Taylor Bird and Peter Anthony Hanna. And I don't know anything about those people, but they're songwriters, obviously. But I just wanted to give full credit where credit's due. So there are four songwriters total. So I don't know if they were all in the screening or how that worked. But yeah, they wrote it right after they watched the movie. But there is limited information on what other songs that these two other co-writers have written. But I know they've each co-written with Lindsey Stirling. So maybe there are
Hmm.
a couple guys who write with her and she brought them in. Or I don't know how that worked. But I am curious. So talking about the meaning of the song from Lindsey's perspective, from Andrew's perspective, and now somebody who's played it, but also been a fan for years of this song. Like, does the meaning of the song change for you while you're performing it live or since that point?
Oh, it changed just because it brought the message to life in a different way. Because I
Yeah.
feel like the experience, this whole experience of playing the song is something wild for me.
Uh-huh.
And having me tell Andrew, I'm scared, acknowledging that, and he goes, or him saying, even though you're scared, you're stronger than you know. Like to do the thing, to play on stage with him was that. And
Mm-hmm.
him telling me that, and he nodded at me. And one of my friends on Facebook pointed that out. She saw it in the video and said, he even said that right to you. And I
To
was like,
you.
that's right. It was, and I know he doesn't know me really that well, but
Mm-hmm.
there are a lot of the lyrics besides those that are can really relate directly to me. And so having that whole experience of playing it with them and him singing it to me and the love of everyone, just this song is now means that much more to me. It means so much. I mean, obviously now every time I hear it, I'm gonna be like, yeah, I played that on stage, you know?
Yeah. I figured the answer had to be it changes at least what it sounds like and how it feels to you when you hear it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but just yeah, the meaning it's probably more personal now
Hmm.
too,
Yep.
lyrics included. Again, when one of the songwriters is up there playing along with you and he's singing the lyrics to you, as in he's reassuring you that it's going to be okay and you're doing a great job,
Yeah.
using the lyrics of the song to do
Yeah.
so. So I mean, how much better can it get?
Yeah. I can't even. I mean, and I can't wait to, next time I see him, like personally thank him again and say, thank you for making a dream come true. I know I told him that at some point, but
Yeah.
be able to tell him after the fact,
Hmm.
just that how much it meant.
Yeah. I mentioned at the top of the episode and that this song is, in my opinion, unique for Andrew. And I say that for a few reasons. Obviously, the most obvious standout is it's an Andrew McMahon song that features a violin, as I pointed out earlier. It's so central to how this song feels. Do you think the emotion would land the same if it were a more like traditional like pop rock song, or does
Hmm.
the violin really like, I know you're a violinist, maybe you're biased in this question, but
I
like
am.
yeah, but yes, but like if it didn't have a violin, would it pop the same?
I mean, I think Andrew can make any song pop and sound good, even if it's just him with the piano. So
Right.
I think it just adds an extra, it's not even extra. I think it's integral, but it's okay without it. But I do think the violin adds something special and something wild to his otherwise normal configuration.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would agree with that. Let's talk lyrics here.
Hmm.
Again, the lyrics, as we can say about a lot of Andrew's songs, it helps make it a really strong song overall, even in addition to the musicality of the song and the performance factor of this song. But every line feels important. I've seen a lot of fans. This is one of those songs. I think it's a highly quotable song from
Hmm.
fans. It seems very inspirational, as we've kind of alluded to earlier, and feels very much lyrics that you can relate to a lot of aspects of your life. And I think we've touched on this a little bit, but I'll ask, what do the lyrics represent to you personally?
A lot. So I won't go into a ton of detail, but I'd mentioned that leading up to the concert where I asked him to play, I'd been really having a hard time with school. And on November 23rd, okay, at that point, I was questioning whether I wanted to keep teaching
Mm-hmm.
or stay in this job or what. And I was really reflecting and talking to people. And one thing that just felt good to me was to write out these lyrics and reflect on them. And I think I sent you pictures of that.
You did.
And so it was November 23rd, so just a couple, like 3 weeks after this concert where I talked to Andrew. And I wrote out the lyrics and then I wrote out my reflections because I felt like I could relate to it so much. And so I'll just give a couple of examples. But
Okay.
like the very first line, you had your maps drawn. You had other plans to hang your hopes on. Okay, that right there represents so much of my early life because I grew up with, oh, I'm going to grow up, I'm going to get married, I'm going to be a teacher, I'm going to have kids and be a stay-at-home mom. I'm gonna follow God. I followed God's plan for my life. I grew up very
Hmm.
Christian. And I was like, if I do all that, things are just gonna go great. I had all these plans, and I actually was married before, got married at
Hmm.
22, and
Okay.
so then hang your hopes on, and every road they led you down felt so wrong, so you found another way. Well, I got a divorce, which was not, no one
Right.
plans to do
Not
that.
part of the
It's
plan.
never part of the plan. And I was the one person or one of the people you'd be like, oh, they're gonna be married forever. Just a lot of things happened. It didn't work out. My teaching job, teaching has been a very difficult road for me. It's been very good and rewarding, but I've had a very difficult teaching career over the years. I
Hmm.
have never had children. I thought I was going to have children, and that never happened. And even like going back to had your maps drawn, other these things, like I grew up with an abusive alcoholic mom and had some really I've gone through a lot of some bad stuff.
Hmm.
And so these lyrics, like you might have some bruises and a few scars, like emotional, physical. Yeah, I do
You can
and
relate to
did.
that.
Yeah, and had really low self-esteem, was just not good. The next line, or you've got a big heart, which I've been told I have. The way you see a world, you've got you this far. I've got a very optimistic outlook on things despite all of that. And then this line, but you know you're going to be okay. And even though you're scared, you're stronger than you know. Like coming through all of that and being able to get through it and to find that something wild of my life turned out very differently than I ever
Hmm.
expected, and it's better than I could have ever expected. And I've went from, all of that challenge to meeting Julian, my husband, and he's wonderful and we have a wonderful life together, and performing on stage with my favorite singer and getting into the outdoors, literally like wild, like becoming more outdoorsy and scuba diving with him and
Hmm.
all that kind of stuff. Like these lyrics, like I went through line by line and wrote out all of these reflections, and it just all, I don't know, I feel like it represents my life really well.
I love the way Andrew sings, and I'll tie this back to what you're saying. I love the way he sings, but you know you're going to be okay. Even though you're scared, you're stronger than you know. And you gave that example of being on stage and hearing those words sang to you, spoken to you, so relevant in your life as well to kind of reassure you that even though the path that you thought would happen so perfectly didn't, you can overcome the barriers. You're stronger than you know. You'll get through it. And maybe there's a different path.
Hmm.
And that could be even better
Yeah.
than the one you started on. And how amazing is that you found even an even better path. I love those lines right there. The other one that you pointed out, you might have some bruises and a few scars. That's one honestly that doesn't jump out to me as often, but I'm glad you brought it up because I think a lot of people listening can relate to that one.
Hmm.
Andrew talks. That's one of those themes you hear in other Andrew lyrics as well about the scars or bruises from our past and how
Hmm.
they shape you, who you are, and how you overcome that. I personally love the part of the song, not only the part of the song, but just the words. That's when something wild calls you home, and the way he sings calls you home. It's just it feels inspirational. It feels relatable, and it feels reassuring.
Yeah.
Like this is okay. This is
Yeah.
gonna be okay, and we're all gonna find our way. For some of us, it's going to be easier than others. Some of us, it's going to be really difficult. But eventually, we will find our way. There is a path. And it may not be clear right now, but there is a path. And I love that message That's how I interpret it. That part
Hmm.
personally, about being called home by the path that you're on, whether you thought you're going to be on that one or not, right?
Yep. I love
So
that.
it's a beautiful sentiment. The lyrics to this song are so special to me, and I think that's why again a lot of us love this one, hearing it live, because it's one of those like therapeutic songs. It's like the message we all need
Yes.
right now, no matter where we're at on our journey, whether we're feeling very positive, everything's on heading upward, or we feel like we're spiraling and we need that
Hmm.
glimmer of hope. Because we talked about at the top of the episode how this song feels hopeful and
Yeah.
it feels inspirational. It feels like it's like encouraging us. And I think, even without the lyrics, that's how Lindsey intended it, right? With the
Yep.
music that she wrote as something that could inspire or lead us on a path that may not, again, to be brave, lead us down a path that may not feel natural, may be uncomfortable at times, but may lead us somewhere even better in the end.
Hmm.
Any other lyrics you wanna point out?
In the chorus, if you're lost out where the lights are blinding, caught in all the stars are hiding, I feel like that can be representative of if you're overwhelmed,
Hmm.
if things get too hard where you just can't even see. I mean, I felt that way. I think that was my crying fit.
Hmm.
I've had a couple of those this school year. I've had one every school year past 2 years. But like when it's just like it's too much, I can't do it, I can't do it. That's when something wild calls you home. You know? That it's beautiful.
I'm glad you came back to that moment during your teaching career, that tough moment for you earlier this year, because I wanted to make sure I validated you, and I didn't want to, and it wasn't maybe the right time for me to say it earlier, but I do want to come back to that. So, as a lot of listeners know, as you know, I was a former teacher, former school counselor. My wife was a teacher. That's how we met. I've told some of those stories on this podcast. It is hard to describe to people who haven't been in that position of a teacher to understand the emotion that comes with it. It's hard to imagine, to be
Yeah,
fair, but you feel a responsibility to
yeah.
other people's children, and you spend so much time with them. It might be in your position an hour a day, multiple hours a week, I don't know, but like you have so much influence, and as a teacher we go into it because we want it to be a positive influence, of course,
Yeah.
but you feel a lot of responsibility and pressure with that. And I think that's where that emotion comes from for a lot of us.
Hmm.
I've had similar moments. I know my wife has had similar moments. It's a tough job. And I've said it here before, I'll say it again. I respect anybody who can do that job. But it's hard to explain to others, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
like what the weight of that feels like.
Yeah.
And so I just wanted to say that. So
Thank you.
I I appreciate you being so open and vulnerable about that experience, because I think it's important for people to hear. And I know there's a lot of teachers in the
Hmm.
Andrew fan base, so
There
there's
are.
a lot of fans who can relate to what you're saying for
Yeah.
sure. So, do you have a favorite part of the song?
I mean, I love the violin solo being a
Hmm.
violinist, but it in
Yeah,
context of the entire thing, probably that's my favorite part.
yeah,
But I mean, it's like picking a favorite child, you know? They're all
yeah.
great.
It's that is my favorite part, and it's no surprise. I'm sure it's a lot of people's, but it's like the calls you home combination with the violin solo. It just it evokes something, like it wakes something up in me that
Hmm.
I don't even know if I can put into words. Not only even when I hear it live, like at home. I was playing the song earlier before we started recording, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, I feel this right now. Like, yeah, she did a great job writing
Yeah.
this. And honestly, I want to go listen to more Lindsey Stirling. I'm gonna go pick up my daughter from dance a little bit after this recording, and I'm gonna put on some Lindsey Stirling. I want to hear more of what she has. So
Nice.
there is an instrumental version that I'll link in the show notes. I'll link, Cindy, your performance, the video that we have. I'll see if I can find some others, and if I find others out there on YouTube, I'll link those. We won't have much time to talk about the music video because we got to wrap this up. But we mentioned earlier that it has some like footage from the movie, and now again, you've watched it. Now I got to go watch it.
Yes.
Maybe I can get my daughters to watch it with me. We'll see if they're interested. If not, I'm gonna give it a watch anyway. Any final thoughts on this experience and the song itself before we wrap up today?
I think the Andrew fan base is the best in the world. I want to thank the fans who were on that ship for being so loving and encouraging. when I was on stage. I just felt so much love. So I just want to thank everybody for that, and thank you for just being so amazing. And that vacation, the whole experience of both cruises were some of the best memories of my entire life, and I can't wait to do it again in 2028.
I can't wait either, to see you and your husband there, to see all of our friends again, and to be in this magical place that we can just feel so comfortable, and
Yeah.
and we can have these crazy experiences that we're going to remember for the rest of our lives. With regard to the song again, I love hearing it live, love hearing it on the album. You've already kind of talked about what's next for you. That's what I was going to ask, but I think we've already
Mhm.
covered that. Is there anything else you wanted to say before we wrap up?
Guess just I'm ready to, excited and yeah, a little bit scared about going into the great unknown and the great wild. I want to throw in one more detail. On one of
No problem.
Andrew's Camp Wilderness Zooms, I asked him his favorite Tom Petty song, and it was Time to Move On.
I remember that. I was on that
Yes.
Zoom.
Because I couldn't remember the song title. I think you wrote me and told me, because I wrote and asked. I was like, what was the title again? I forgot. And anyway, that song I can completely relate to because it talks about moving on, time to get going, and all of that. So that's another one to go listen to. But Andrew told me that song. I got my husband that vinyl for his birthday. We've listened to it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is me too. So between Something Wild, like music is speaking to me these days
Uh-huh.
very directly. So this next, it's Cindy in the Wilderness is my next chapter. So we'll see how that goes.
Awesome. I think we're making a little playlist here, with all these inspirational
I
songs
have
about
made
life
one.
changes.
I have made one. It's called One Wild Wonderful Life, as all these things. It's on my Spotify.
Would you mind sharing that with me?
I would be happy to.
Thank you. I
Yeah.
would love to hear it. Well, thank you, Cindy, for joining me, and thanks everyone, as always, for listening. Love these conversations. I can't express how much I love this. I mean, this was really special to me, Cindy, to sit down and talk to you about this. Such a great experience in your life. Thank you for talking. It's been
Thank
great.
you. Thank you for having me on.
If anyone out there would like to that hasn't, reach out, and you can be a guest on the show too, and you can tell your story and why there's a song that's special to you as well. You can reach out on Instagram through direct message or email me, and you can see what Cindy's up to by following her on Instagram at Cindy Carrier Violin, or find her YouTube channel, Cindy Carrier. And I'll just end with this. If you're lost out where the lights are blinding, caught in all the stars are hiding, that's when something wild calls you home.